the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 451, Cutting Off. Tell me, is Xingyun behind you too? Manaphy said calmly. Now the two were discovered by it in Manaphy, and they were not afraid that they would leave. As for the misunderstanding mentioned by Zhang Xingyun, the furious Manaphy chose to ignore it. Now in front of it, there are 5 elves with the breath of Xingyun, which also aroused its suspicion. Prince Kanghe, this is definitely a misunderstanding. I picked up this elf egg in a sea area, not stolen by me. After saying that, Zhang Xingyun pointed to his vest and said again, I'm a student of Magic City University. This time I came to help with disaster relief. This elf egg was also found by me during the disaster relief. Zhang Xingyun's tone was very sincere, and he also let go of his heart to enhance his credibility. Oh, a wonderful lie. Manaphy snorted coldly, and an invisible wave emanated from his body, while Zhang Xingyun screamed and spit out a mouthful of blood. Hey boo, when the electric beast saw Zhang Xingyun like this, it blocked the way and struck with a bolt of lightning. Stop. Stop it now. Don't be impulsive. Zhang Xingyun injured the pain in his mind and comforted the elves. Buzz, the lightning emitted by the electric beast was lightly picked up by the lightning bird and turned into invisible. In the direction of lightning, it is an expert. In the eyes of it, the electric beast's move is just a show of skill before an expert. Then the lightning bird slightly raised its hand, and several bolts of lightning fell down. Nido Hassan, seeing this, Nidoking and Giant Claw Mantis attacked one after another, each taking 2 bolts, and the remaining one struck the electric beast. Hey boo, the electric beast was directly blown up and fell into the sea beside it. Electric beast! Zhang Xingyun shouted, and took the electric beast back into the Pokeball. The electric beast in the ball had lost consciousness and its body was charred. Nidoking and Claw's Mantis were also injured to varying degrees, with Nidoking's being less severe. The next electric move would be ineffective against Nidoking, but these 2 electric moves were fired by Zapdos, which were extremely powerful and beyond what Nidoking could withstand. Cry, Zapdos chirped softly, as if mocking the electric beast's arrogance. My lords, this is really a misunderstanding, Zhang Xingyun said in a deep voice, and he was also angry, but he still suppressed it. Facing the 2 beasts, he had no chance of winning with his current strength. But facing him, another dazzling lightning struck, and a wave of water came, which was even more powerful than before. Xingyun, be careful. At the critical moment, Nangang Yeo pulled Zhang Xingyun behind him and blocked him. Facing the 2 attacks, the elves surrounding them were directly blown away. The aftermath was also resisted by Nangang Yeo. Puff! Nangang Yeo spat out a mouthful of blood and slowly fell down. Nangang. Zhang Xingyun hurried forward, supporting Nangang Yeo. Looking at the blood flowing from the corner of her mouth, his heart was very painful. If she hadn't stood in front of him just now, he would have been injured at this moment. Find a chance to leave quickly. I'll let Xiaoqi and the others delay for a while, Nangang Yeo whispered in his ear. Nangang Yeo's words made him feel very warm. At this time, this silly girl in front of him would still create an opportunity for him to escape. You leave quickly. No, I will never leave. Even if I die, I will die first. Zhang Xingyun's eyes were sharp, and he took out a bottle of potion from the space and drank it. After drinking it, his eyes turned red, and his aura also rose. From the original peak of the early stage of the Quasi King, in an instant, it rose to the early stage of the King. If I die here today, then... Zhang Xingyun looked at the elf egg in his hand, and he also had an idea in his heart. If he was going to die, then this elf egg would not live either. Super evolution. The giant claw mantis supported the injured body and performed super evolution. But it was a fatal crisis. After the elves super evolved, their strength also increased. Blastoise and Cherries had reached the peak of Quasi King and were unable to approach the king. Zhang Xingyun quickly took back Shakurus, locked him up, and stuffed him into Nangang Yeo's arms. Help me take care of them and live well. What are you going to do? Remember to walk as far as you can. You will be safe after reaching the land. I will buy you time. Then he used the maximum teleportation to make her and the mid-stage King Kixie Bluebad appear 3000 meters away. He let Kixie Bluebad teleport there as well, considering that Kixie Bluebad still had the ability to move and could carry her. "Hey, it's great to know you." His head was very painful, but he laughed. If she could buy time for her, he might as well. "Manaphy," Zhang Xingyun roared, attracting its attention. "This is your Pokémon egg, right? 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes and I'll give it back to you. Otherwise, don't doubt my ability." Zhang Xingyun sneered, his eyes revealing madness, and a huge amount of energy condensed in his hands. Seeing this, Manaphy also stopped and looked at him with some fear. Ahem. Zhang Xingyun coughed up a mouthful of blood and said to Nidoking and the others, "It's great to know you. You're leaving soon. I guess I'm going to die here today. Ahem. Go, Pidgeot, fly away quickly. You don't have to stay with me here." Pikamakami. After hearing this, the Pokémons had nothing else to do, and they all dragged their seriously injured bodies and surrounded him. Mega Blastoise dragged Nidoking, Mega Pidgeot carried Lady Flower, and Charizard X came to him. 5 Pokémon protected him inside, and the other Pokémon had been put into Pokéballs in a hurry just now, and placed with Nangarnyeo. "Go. Don't be so stubborn. Go, go. Even if I don't want you anymore, I've abandoned you. Go." Nidoking and the others were unmoved and quietly guarded. Manaphy looked at Zhang Xingyun quietly. As long as its child was fine, it didn't matter if a human escaped. The scene was quiet for a while. Dragonite and Tanabata Bluebird also came out of the water, but they looked dying. Zhang Xingyun had no choice. Nidoking and the others refused to leave, and Dragonite and the others couldn't leave in this state. "Nido Wua Hassan Kami Flower, you are so stupid. There is really no need." Zhang Xingyun's eyes were a little moist. It was estimated that he would be doomed today. Looking at the posture of Manaphy and Zapdos, they would not listen to his explanation at all. He estimated that he would die here today. "It seems that I'm not a failure in this life." Zhang Xingyun sighed as he looked at the elves who were unwilling to escape. Chapter 452, Suicune arrives. In fact, Zhang Xingyun himself also felt that this was an unprovoked disaster. After all, he did not steal the elf egg. But the angry Manaphy did not believe it, and just targeted him. Now only 2 minutes have passed, and he is a little unstable. His breath gradually weakened, and his consciousness gradually blurred. But if nothing unexpected happens, the ending can only be death. This is the sea, Manaphy's territory, and with the imposing lightning bird in the sky, there is no way to escape. Zhang Xingyun's breathing gradually became heavier. "Am I going to die here today?" Zhang Xingyun thought in his heart. For a moment, he remembered all the people he met in his mind. His father, mother, elder brother, neighbors, classmates, teachers. Finally, Nangarnyeo's beautiful face appeared in his mind. "Hey, I didn't expect that I would think of you at this moment." Zhang Xingyun's mouth was bleeding again, and his vision began to blur. Hoo-la-la, a huge water tornado wrapped him, and the elves to prevent him from escaping, and the surrounding sea area of more than 10 kilometers was blocked by Manaphy. Whoosh whoosh, a breeze blew by, and Suicune arrived at the scene. He also felt a familiar breath, and looked at Zhang Xingyun and the elves in the water spout. Is this breath from Suicune? Zhang Xingyun seemed to feel something, and hit the elves. If it was Suicune who came, then he might not have to die. Stop. With a bang, the water spout that wrapped Zhang Xingyun was broken. "Suicune, could it be that you are really behind this?" "What do you mean?" Suicune didn't quite understand what Manaphy meant. "Now that the evidence is solid, you still save the murderer, and the murderer's elf still has your breath. It's hard for me not to suspect that this matter is related to you." At this point, Manaphy's momentum surged, and a very unique energy fluctuation was ready to go in his body. "I think you misunderstood. I have nothing to do with this matter. This person cannot be related to this matter. He was participating in the freshman competition of Magic City University these days, and won the championship. He got a source of energy from me, so it is inevitable that he has my breath on him." Suicune said slowly, and gave an explanation. He still had an impression of Zhang Xingyun. He was also very familiar with the breath on Blastoise. This was its source of breath. Upon hearing this, Manaphy slightly put away his power and looked at Zhang Xingyun with zapness. You too, I really picked up this Pokémon egg. It was in this red backpack at the time. Zhang Xingyun repeated and took out a red backpack. Now the situation has reversed. Where is the root orb? Manaphy asked. I don't know about this. I only picked up this backpack. There are only these sundries and this Pokémon egg in the backpack. Zhang Xingyun told the truth. At this time, Gu Changfeng and his 4 companions also arrived at the scene and saw Zhang Xingyun behind Sukyun. Zhang Xingyun was holding another elf egg in his arms, and he seemed to know something. They quickly came to Zhang Xingyun's side and helped him treat him. Gu Changfeng and his 4 companions still valued this freshman champion of Magic City University. Principal. After seeing Gu Changfeng, Zhang Xingyun called out and then greeted the other 3. The 4 had appeared in the freshman competition, so they naturally knew him and knew that he was not a thief at all. After Gu Changfeng and his 4 companions arrived, Zhang Xingyun also knew that he would not die today, and the life crisis in front of him was also resolved. In addition to this elf egg, did you really not find the root gem? Gu Changfeng asked in a low voice. For safety reasons, he asked it again in person. Principal, I really didn't pick it up, only this one. Zhang Xingyun emphasized again. Well, thank you for your hard work. Gu Changfeng comforted him. Then Gu Changfeng and his companions and Sukyun went forward to negotiate with Manaphy again to discuss the matter. Zhang Xingyun naturally would not object to returning the elf egg to Manaphy. He had no choice but to do so just now, but he did not need to do so now. Now, there was only one problem left, which was the problem of the root orb. But compared to Manaphy's elf egg, this was negotiable. Principal. Zhang Xingyun shouted, and when several people looked over, he continued, this is the communicator that came with the elf egg. It is not broken. You can try to locate those criminals. Zhang Xingyun also took out the communicator developed by Xianma Company that he had picked up earlier, as well as some other sundries, and handed them to Gu Changfeng, asking him to try. Afterwards, he stayed aside and healed his wounds. It's still a question of strength. Zhang Xingyun sighed in his heart. When he was talking just now, Manaphy could not listen at all, but now that Sukyun and the 4 champions came, Manaphy calmed down and was able to communicate. This is also a reflection of strength. Today, he still has the strength of a champion, so he must be able to have a good talk with Manaphy. At this moment, Zhang Xingyun's strong heart was further stimulated. Along the way, he had been going too smoothly. Along the way, he had won more and lost less. It was inevitable that he was a little proud and had a contemptuous heart. Even though he often reflected on himself, it was not very profound. Buzz after a while, several large warships rushed over, and Zhang Xingyun also came to the warship for treatment. The rest of the matter had nothing to do with him. It was left to Gu Changfeng and the other 4 and the military strongman who came later. Zhang Xingyun lay in the ward in the warship. His consciousness gradually blurred, and he fell into a coma. And his spirit was handed over to the medical staff before he fell into a coma. I don't know how long he was in a coma. Zhang Xingyun slowly regained consciousness. A warm towel was wiping his face, and a familiar voice came from his ears, like a complaint, which was a little unclear. Zhang Xingyun slowly opened his eyes, looking at the white ceiling with a confused look, and he hadn't come back to his senses yet. You're awake. A joyful voice came, and Zhang Xingyun subconsciously turned his head to look, and saw Nangang Yao's joyful face. At this moment, her eyes were a little red and swollen, as if she had been crying. Nangang? Zhang Xingyun was a little confused for a while, and his mind couldn't turn around for a while. I remember the principal also rushed over, and finally I got on a warship, and then I fell into a coma. The memory slowly came back, and Zhang Xingyun's eyes were no longer confused. Great, you're awake. Nangang Yao was very excited, and gave him a big hug. That's great, that's great. Zhang Xingyun felt a soft fragrance in his arms, and he was already hugged by her, and she was still whispering in his ear. Chapter 453 Afterwards. A very pleasant fragrance lingered in the nose, and Zhang Xingyun was also a little stunned. After a few seconds, Zhang Xingyun came back to his senses, raised a hand, and patted her back. Okay, I'm fine. Zhang Xingyun replied in a gentle voice. Click. At this time, the door of the ward made a sound, and Lan Yachin and others walked in from outside and saw the two people hugging each other. Did we come at the wrong time? Lan Yachin said, a little embarrassed. Sensing that several people had come, Nangang Yeo also noticed her current appearance. With a cry, she broke free from the embrace, her face flushed, and she looked particularly beautiful and moving. Boss, you are here. Come in if you are here. Why are you standing at the door? Zhang Xingyun saw Lan Yachin and the other two standing at the door, neither going in nor going back, and shouted, "You guys chat, I'll go get you something to eat." Without waiting for him to speak, Nangang Yeo hurried out of the ward. Hey, second brother, you were very successful in saving the beauty. Look at the way they look. They took care of you during the days you were unconscious. The three of them came to the bed and put down the fruits they brought. Lan Yachin said with a smile. How many days have I been unconscious? Zhang Xingyun asked. In his coma, he had no concept of time. This number. Lan Yachin stretched out 5 fingers and gestured. 5 days? Yes. 5 whole days and 5 nights. Lan Yachin replied, and he picked up an apple and started to eat it. 5 days. Zhang Xingyun moved his body and found that his body was in pain everywhere. Second brother, do you want to adjust your posture? I'll help you. Lan Yachin held the apple in his mouth, and together with Zhang Xingyun, he helped Zhang Xingyun adjust to a comfortable posture. Zhang Xingyun felt as if his body had been beaten up, and it hurt everywhere. When he tried to use his superpowers, his brain felt like it was pierced by several needles, and it was excruciatingly painful. Zhang Xingyun took a few breaths of cool air. Hey, second brother, what happened to you? Do you need to call a doctor? Seeing Zhang Xingyun gasping for air, Zhang Xingyun shouted. No, I was just trying to mobilize my supernatural powers. Zhang Xingyun stopped him. Don't mobilize it, just ask. You must be in so much pain. Lan Yachin blamed him. Zhang Xingyun smiled and said nothing. He knew his physical condition now. He was seriously injured, from the inside out, from the outside in. He suffered a heavy blow both physically and mentally. Thinking back to the feeling of the explosion at that time, it was indeed a bit refreshing, but it really hurts now. How was the situation in the past 5 days? How was the matter of Manaphy resolved? Zhang Xingyun asked. He still wanted to know what happened in the past 5 days, and how to deal with the follow-up results of Manaphy. Speaking of this, second brother, you have made a great contribution, Zhang Xingyun said, with a happy look on his face. You picked up Manaphy's elf egg, that's one. Second, based on the Pegasus communicator you gave, the relevant personnel successfully located and found the 3 Han brothers and sisters through this communicator. Now the 3 of them have been executed, and the root gem has been found. Oh. Zhang Xingyun nodded, not expecting that his unexpected action would really work. It's all your credit. If it weren't for you, the flood would probably not stop now, and Manaphy would not give up. In this environment, finding the 3 Han brothers and sisters is like looking for a needle in a haystack. If it weren't for you, I don't know when the trouble would end, and how many more people and elves would be killed and injured. Zhang Xingyun continued, with a tone of admiration in his voice. His admiration was not only these, he also heard that Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo were targeted by Manaphy and Zapdos, and they were almost dead. At the critical moment, he used his last strength to send Nangang Yeo away from the scene, and bought time for her, giving her the chance to survive. This behavior made him admire her. After listening to this, Zhang Xingyun nodded slightly, indicating that he understood. Has she been taking care of me for the past 5 days? Zhang Xingyun hesitated and asked the 3 people. Yeah. The 3 nodded in unison. She has worked hard. Are you heartbroken? Lan Yachin said with a smile on his face. During these 5 days, when the 3 of them came, they could see Nangang Yeo. I remember she was injured too. Is she healed? Zhang Xingyun remembered that she was also injured, and the injury was not light, and he couldn't help but worry. I'm fine. With a click, Nangang Yeo walked in with a bowl of steaming meat porridge. Hey, Lan Yachin gave Zhang Xingyun and the other 2 a look, and then the 3 of them walked out of the ward together. I made you a bowl of lean meat porridge, which is easier to digest. Nangang Yeo said in a gentle voice, holding up the steaming porridge. Okay. Well, I'll feed you, Nangang Yeo said, after thinking for a while. When he was stunned, the spoon came to his mouth, and he opened his mouth and swallowed it. Nangang Yeo picked up the spoon again, scooped some porridge, blew it, and held it out again. Zhang Xingyun opened his mouth again and started eating. Nangang Yeo seemed very calm, but her ears were particularly red, and rosy, and it was obvious that she herself was not very natural. A puff of laughter broke the atmosphere, and Lan Yuchen and Kan Xiuming were watching the two people's behavior through the transparent glass on the door. Then, you can let them come. Zhang Xingyun's ears were also red, and he said unnaturally. The two people outside heard this and ran away. If they leave, I will feed you. What's wrong with you, still dislike me? Nangang Yeo held out the spoon again, and let him continue eating. No. After swallowing the porridge, Zhang Xingyun said hurriedly. At that time, didn't I tell you to leave first, and Xiaoqi and I will delay time for you? Nangang Yeo blamed. I'm glad you're okay. Zhang Xingyun smiled and said softly, without saying anything else. At that time, he didn't know what was going on, he just wanted her to be safe. Looking at Nangang Yeo's slightly red and swollen eyes, and the faint dark circles under her eyes, Zhang Xingyun also knew her condition in the past few days. Is your injury healed? Well, it's almost healed, come and drink it. Okay. Zhang Xingyun smiled, and ate the porridge. For some reason, he felt that the porridge was delicious. When she saw Zhang Xingyun smile, Nangang Yeo's face also turned red. The two finished the porridge in this inexplicable atmosphere. Afterwards, Nangang Yeo cleaned up a few things and walked out. Chapter 454, Explanation and Cultivation. Hey, second brother, how about the opportunity we created for you? As soon as Nangang Yeo left, 3 people from the dormitory came in. Lan Yuchen came over with a smile on his face, and winked. What? And what were you two doing just now? Leaning on the door. It made me very embarrassed. This is indeed a problem between the two of us. Don't worry, there will definitely not be a next time. Lan Yuchen smiled embarrassedly. By the way, where is my elf? I have been lying for 5 days, so where did my elf go? Zhang Xingyun asked. His problem was solved, and the next thing was the elf. Your elf should be arranged by her. You know, elves are not allowed to walk around in the hospital at will. Engine on the side spoke up and explained where the elves went. That's good. Zhang Xingyun was also relieved. With Nangang Yeo's arrangements, there would be no trouble. Besides, the elves were also very familiar with Nangang Yeo and would obey her instructions. Brothers, do you have anything to do today? What's wrong? Do you need help? I haven't had anything to do these days. If you have anything to do, just tell me. The 3 of them looked over and looked at him. It's like this. I think Nangang is a little tired. Let her go back today and have a good rest. Oh, he was interrupted before he finished speaking. So the second brother is worried about her. That's right. I think she is very tired. What can I say about the environment in the hospital? Also, I'm afraid she won't go back. You can tell her later that you have to stay and take care of me. Let her go back and rest first. After she goes back, you can go back later. Zhang Xingyun said lightly. Seeing Nangang Yeo's tired look, he was really tired. He also saw that Nangang Yeo's physical injuries had not healed completely. No matter how she hid it, he could see it. What are you talking about? Anyway, the 3 of us are fine, so let's stay here. I'll tell her later. Okay. The 4 of them chatted together. Zhang Xingyun lay on the bed. There were strands of green energy light containing life energy in his body, nourishing his body. Slowly, the green light strands gradually became thicker and healed his body. What are you talking about? Nangang Yeo also came in from outside, holding a kettle in her hand, looking at the 4 people, then came to the bed and poured a cup of hot water. Nangang, the 3 of them are here today. You should go back and rest first. You don't have to stay here. It's very tiring. Yes, you go back first. Leoa is here. We are fine here. Lan Yuchen echoed from the side. Yes, with us here, you should go back and rest first. If you are exhausted, someone will feel bad. Kan Xiuming also spoke. Go back and rest. You have worked hard these days. Now I'm fine. You still have some injuries on your body, so recover well, Zhang Xingyun advised. Okay. Nangang Yeo looked at the 3 people and then at Zhang Xingyun. The 4 of them asked her to rest. After thinking for a while, she agreed. Don't worry about your Pokémon. I have arranged them properly. Well, I'm relieved that you have arranged it, Zhang Xingyun replied. Nangang Yeo took out her mobile phone and dialed a video call. After a few seconds, the call was connected to the other side. The face of the electric shock monster appeared on the phone. Hey, your trainer has woken up. Put the phone in front of Zhang Xingyun so that he can communicate with the Pokémon. Hey boo on the other side. The electric shock monster saw Zhang Xingyun, who woke up and shouted happily. Its voice was also heard by Nidoking and others. They stopped training and came to a computer and gathered in front of the screen. Hey boo Nido Hassan Kami. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Train well where you are. I'll be discharged in a while. Remember to be obedient. The meaning of the elf's words was naturally to ask about his injury, and Zhang Xingyun replied one by one with a smile. Gas, don't be naughty. Remember to train well. Electric monster, you. Metal monster, you too. Zhang Xingyun warned the more jumpy elves and his team to prevent them from doing anything wrong. After explaining for a while, he returned the phone to Nangang Yeo. After staying for a while, Nangang Yeo left the ward under the persuasion of the 4 people. Now that he woke up, and with Lan Yuchen and the other 3 taking care of him, she was relieved. Looking at your condition, you probably have to lie down for a while, Lan Yuchen said beside the bed. Well, it's about the same. I'll meditate now. You guys can do whatever you want. After speaking, Zhang Xingyun closed his eyes and began to meditate. Seeing this, the 3 of them did not disturb him. They sat aside and looked at their phones. This ward was a single ward, so there was no need to worry about being disturbed by others. Soon, it was past 8 in the evening. The doctor opened the door and walked in. Behind the doctor was a happy egg and several nurses who walked in with items. After checking Zhang Xingyun's recovery, he confirmed that he had recovered well and walked out. After an afternoon of practice, Zhang Xingyun's pain had also recovered a little. He was not as painful as he was at noon. His hands could also move slightly, but he could not move them much. He could also use his supernatural powers a little. Here we go. Lan Yuchen, who had gone out to get food, walked in, packed up the food, gave a portion to Kan Xiaoming and Pei Chenjun, and then came to Zhang Xingyun with a portion of lean meat porridge. Hey, second brother, I'll feed you this time. Lan Yuchen sat down, holding the lean meat porridge, and said with a smile on his face. No, just give it to me. My hands can move now. Seeing Lan Yuchen like this, Zhang Xingyun refused directly. Immediately using his special power, he controlled the lean meat porridge, brought it to his hand, picked up the spoon and started eating. Oh, you're back to health now. What else? TSK. Lan Yuchen sighed, sat down, picked up his own portion and started eating. In the room, the 4 of them ate the food in their hands together, and it was quiet for a while. After eating, the time soon came to more than 11 o'clock in the evening. Why don't you 3 go back first? There are nurses here, so you don't have to worry about anything. Seeing that the time was almost up, Zhang Xingyun asked the 3 to go back. The ward he was staying in looked like a high-level ward, and the medical staff must be very comprehensive. What are you talking about? Anyway, there's nothing to do. We'll stay with you. No need to say anything more. Lan Yuchen replied, then lay on the accompanying bed on the side and played with his mobile phone. Chapter 455 Lan Yuchen's hint. It's okay, Xingyun. We will stay here with you tonight. You can practice wherever you go. Pei Chenjun also said. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun did not ask the 3 to go back. The behavior of the 3 still made him feel warm. Although he would be fine if the 3 of them went back, he still felt warm that the 3 of them could stay with him. In the Demon City, he was also a person without any relatives. The 3 roommates in front of him were the ones he had a good relationship with. The only one left was Nangang Yeo. I guess she didn't know what happened when she was admitted to the hospital a few days ago. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun asked, by the way, brothers, did you handle my hospitalization procedures for me? Was it you? No, Nangang helped you. There are many things that we three don't know. The three shook their heads together. It was only in this incident that the three of them learned that he was alone and his family was destroyed by the arrival of the secret realm. Only then did they know some of Zhang Xingyun's past. After knowing this, the three of them admired Zhang Xingyun even more. They had the support of their families and didn't have to think about resources at all. They had the guidance of famous teachers since childhood, so they could have such strength and have the current strength. Even so, they were still not as good as him who started from scratch, and they admired Zhang Xingyun very much. They put themselves in his shoes and found that if they were him, they would never have the current strength and achievements. Yeah. Then the four of them chatted for a while and practiced separately. He also exchanged several potions from the system with the remaining energy value and used them directly. When he looked over his head, he found that Lan Yuchen, who had the ability of Wava Guide, could also practice by meditation. There was no conversation that night, and time passed quickly. Time came to the early morning of the next day. When the time came, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and exhaled a breath of turbid air. The energy that nourishes the body after a night of practice changed from the size of a hair to the size of an arm, circulated in the body for a week, repairing various parts of the body. Of course, there was also the credit of the potion he drank. Without that potion, it would be impossible to recover so quickly. I feel much better. I don't feel so much pain anymore, Zhang Xingyun said softly after sensing his body. Then, Pei Chenjun also opened his eyes. After a few seconds, Qin Ziyoming and the other two also opened their eyes. After saying good morning to each other, the three of them got up and went to the wash basin in the ward to wash. After a while, Pei Chenjun turned off a basin of water and placed it next to the bed. I can do this, Zhang Xingyun said. Can you? Or I can help you wash. Pei Chenjun hesitated. No need. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and a supernatural power controlled the face towel in the basin. After rubbing it a few times, he wrung it dry with supernatural power and put it on his face. Then, under the control of supernatural power, he began to wash. Then he moved the quilt, took off his clothes, and wiped his body. After wiping it once, he felt much more comfortable. After putting on his clothes, Zhang Xingyun sat on the bed. He was able to use supernatural powers to carry out daily activities. Of course, he would not use moves that consumed supernatural powers, such as teleportation, for the time being, because his body could not bear it. Like now, he can still wipe his body, wash and so on. Second brother, when she comes, don't behave like this. It's always right to listen to me. Lan Yuchen, who came back from washing, said meaningfully. Why? Because Lan Yuchen was about to speak when the door clicked and opened. A beautiful woman wearing a blue and white dress and a high ponytail walked in. It was Nangang Yeo, and she was holding a lunchbox in her hand. Good morning. After seeing the four people, Nangang Yeo said with a smile, came to the front of the ward and put down the lunchbox. Nangang, why are you here so early? Are you worried that the three of us will treat him badly? Come here so early. Lan Yuchen joked and gave Zhang Xingyun a look by the way, and it was unknown what he was indicating. Second brother, don't sit like this. It's uncomfortable. Come and lie down. I know you're uncomfortable. Come here. I'll weigh a soft pillow for you. Before Zhang Xingyun finished speaking, he was interrupted. Lan Yuchen came to his side, pressed him down, held a few heads, winked at him, and pointed at the food box. Okay, third and fourth brother, let's go eat. Then, he took Pei Chenjun and the other two out of the ward. At this time, Zhang Xingyun also understood what Lan Yuchen meant, because Nangang Yeo had already opened the food box and scooped out a bowl of fragrant meat porridge from it, and there were some unknown medicinal materials in the porridge. I'll feed you, Nangang Yeo said. This time, she seemed very natural, but her ears turned slightly red. Zhang Xingyun was a little entangled, but after thinking about it, he finally responded, okay. Then he enjoyed Nangang Yeo's care and his heart was no longer entangled. How are you recovering? Are you still in pain? After feeding him a few spoonfuls, Nangang Yeo said in a gentle voice. Her hands were very gentle, as if he was a fragile item that could be easily broken. Better. Let me wipe your face, hands, and feet later. Nangang Yeo continued to ask. Okay. Seeing Nangang Yeo's concerned look, Zhang Xingyun became entangled again. Was it not good for him to do this? But as she brought the basin of water and the warm face towel touched his face, the entanglement in his heart disappeared instantly. It's quite clean. Have you washed? Oh, really? Maybe it's because I was lying here yesterday, so it's not dirty here. Really? Yes. Zhang Xingyun couldn't help blushing, feeling embarrassed for his behavior. No, Leo is still so thin-skinned. He still acts like this with such a good opportunity. At the door, Lan Yuchen and Kan Xiuming looked inside through the window. Lan Yuchen said angrily, completely forgetting what he said yesterday, there won't be a next time. Boss, please move aside, and let me take a look. Kan Xiuming squeezed and said. The two of them could only look inside through the transparent glass. If they used their spiritual thoughts to scan over, they would definitely be discovered. Now, with the two of them like this, they had no time to take care of this place. It was just right to be here, so that they could see what the situation was, and not be discovered. No, the second brother is still not thick enough. Kan Xiuming also said. That's what I meant. In the love secret book I gave him, there is a pursue victory 1, which is just right for this. Page Engine stood by and shook his head, feeling helpless. Chapter 456, Water City Secret Realm. What are you doing? A cold voice came, and the two who were peeping, turned their heads to look. It turned out to be the counselor Li Yinggren. Next to her was a middle-aged man with a bald head and glasses. He was the dean of the Training Academy of Magic City University, and was also present at the freshman competition. Behind her were more than a dozen classmates, including Jian Wenchen and Zimeng Meng. Nothing, teacher, you are here, please come this way. Lan Yuchen laughed dryly a few times and said loudly. Zhang Xingyun and the others also heard the movement outside and looked up. Kali Yinggren and more than a dozen people filed in, and the wood was full of people. Hello, teacher, hello, Dean Lin. Zhang Xingyun first called Li Yinggren and Dean Lin beside her, and then greeted the classmates who came. Well, how is your recovery? Li Yinggren sat down and immediately asked with concern. Much better, Zhang Xingyun replied. This time, the Manaphy incident was all thanks to you, classmate Zhang. If it weren't for the things you provided, this disaster would not have ended so quickly. Dean Lin said. It's just luck. It's great to be able to help. Zhang Xingyun smiled and responded modestly. Haha, you are worthy of being the freshman champion of our school. This awareness, this ideological consciousness. Dean Lin laughed. Zhang Xingyun also responded with a smile. People who can become deans are naturally good at making polite remarks. From the country, society, school, and individuals, they are all different. They praised one after another, and praised for more than half an hour. Lan Yuchen and others yawned when they heard it, and Li Yinggren echoed beside them. This visit to Zhang Xingyun was also a work requirement. She didn't say anything about Dean Lin's performance. Gradually, they also talked about his rewards this time. Like the Magic City Hero Award, 10 billion elf coins, School Outstanding Student Award, million merit points and a lot of other rewards. Zhang Xingyun accepted all the rewards, and thanked them one by one. This is what you deserve, classmate Zhang. You have brought great honor to our Magic City University. Hahaha. It should be. Oh, by the way, classmate Nangang is here too. Your contribution this time is not small. There is also a reward for you. I will give it to you here, to save you another trip. After visiting Zhang Xingyun, Dean Lin turned his head, and said to Nangang Yeo. Nangang Yeo also participated in this event, so naturally she also had a share. Hello, Dean Lin. Nangang Yeo shouted. Good. Dean Lin brought up the topic again, and continued to praise. His professional ability seemed very strong. The words of praise were not repeated. He was worthy of being specialized in this. As he said that, Lan Yuchen and others yawned again. At this time, Jian Wenchen and others came over, and asked about his injuries. He was still very happy about these classmates, who came to visit him, so he started chatting with them. This Dean Lin is too talkative. I almost rolled my eyes at what he said. Nangang Yeo's voice came through telepathy. Hahaha, be patient. This is also their job and the procedure they should follow. If this happened in school, they would talk even more. After replying, He continued to chat and laugh with Zhang Xingyun and the others. By the way, there is one more thing I want to tell you too. Dean Lin said very seriously. Hearing this tone, everyone stopped chatting and looked at Dean Lin. You should know the Water City Secret Realm. Water City Secret Realm? Zhang Xingyun was a little confused and looked at Nangang Yao. This secret realm is very important. It is related to the divine beast. I will tell you in detail later. Nangang Yao said through telepathy. Yes. Since you two have performed outstandingly in this matter, the school has decided that you two will go together on the trip to the Water City Secret Realm in March next year. Thank you, Dean Lin, and thank you to the school. Before Zhang Xingyun could say anything, Nangang Yao thanked him, so he followed suit. Yes, when the time comes, we will be more prepared, maybe. Dean Lin stopped talking halfway and gave the two an encouraging look. Dean Lin stayed for a while and then said goodbye and left the ward. Then the counselor also sat for a while, gave a few instructions, and said that she could be contacted if there was anything, and left the ward. Finally left. This old man is too good at talking, and he only talked about the key points at the end. Lan Yuchen complained. As soon as Counselor Li Yingren left, the ward became lively. That's right, this old man is really good at talking. He also spoke the most in the freshman competition. Zhang Xingyun and others beside him also echoed. Zhang Xingyun, half lying on the bed, smiled and said nothing. Nangang Yao and Zimeng and several other girls were talking in low voices, glancing at him from time to time. TSK, you are so lucky. This is what our Yao just made this morning. I haven't eaten it yet. Zimeng walked to the table beside the bed, picked up the lunchbox, and looked at it. Then I'm honored. Of course, how are you? Yeah, much better. Zhang Xingyun replied immediately. Much better, he had said many times in the past 2 days. That's good. It's worth it for our Yao to take care of you for so long. I know. Zhang Xingyun nodded and glanced at Nangang Yao. Zimeng looked satisfied. There was some noise in the ward. After staying for a while, everyone was taken out by Lan Yuchen, saying that he would treat them to a meal. Only Nangang Yao was left. After everyone came out, Nangang Yao cleaned the room and sat back next to the bed. I'll wash some fruit for you. After saying that, Nangang Yao picked up the fruit in the bag and took it to the sink to wash the fruit. Seeing her busy appearance and hearing the sound of washing fruit, Zhang Xingyun smiled. At this moment, he felt warm from her again. What are you laughing at? When Nangang Yao came back with the fruit, she looked at his smiling expression and asked, I've troubled you these days. Zhang Xingyun said sincerely, it's nothing. This time you can be regarded as saving me again. Come and eat the fruit. He picked up a piece of fruit with a bamboo stick and gestured. Okay. Zhang Xingyun opened his mouth, ate it, chewed it a few times, and swallowed it into his stomach. The weather is good today. Can you take me for a walk outside? It's too stuffy to stay in the ward. Looking outside, Zhang Xingyun said, the sun was shining brightly. Can you sit up here? Sure. Then wait here. Okay. Nangang Yao walked out of the ward and looked for a wheelchair. Chapter 457, Latius and Latius. After leaving the ward, Nangang Yao asked the doctor. The doctor went to check in the morning and found that the recovery was okay. He also said that he could go outside to have a look. After 2 or 3 minutes, Nangang Yao came in pushing a wheelchair. With his own hands and the help of supernatural powers, he actually moved the man into the wheelchair. Let's go. Nangang Yao pushed the wheelchair from the back and got on the elevator. Soon he came to the first floor and opened the elevator door. There were already many people outside, but they also made way for him to pass. Everyone looked at him with pity. Now is the elf era. Thanks to the advent of the secret realm, some technology has been brought about, allowing the medical industry to develop. In addition, with the help of the elves now, 99% of diseases can be solved. But Zhang Xingyun was sitting in a wheelchair at the moment, so everyone thought that he was suffering from the 1% disease, and their eyes couldn't help but show pity. Zhang Xingyun smiled bitterly and quietly passed through the crowd. With the current technology and medical capabilities, he can't stand up. It's really the 1% disease. Looking at the crowd, Zhang Xingyun also found that, although people looked tired and sad, they did not find despair. In comparison, the present of the elf age is much happier than the old times. After walking out of the hospital gate, Nangang Yeo slowly pushed him and walked slowly. An autumn breeze blew, and the big trees on both sides of the road rustled. The bright flowers and plants planted under the big trees brought a sweet fragrance when the wind blew, which was very pleasant. The warm sunshine shone on the body, as if it was covering the two of them with a layer of colorful gauze. The warm sunshine shone on the body, warm, and the energy flow in the body was also a little faster. Neither of them spoke, one pushed, and the other sat, walking slowly on the road, bathing in the sun, smelling the fragrance of flowers and plants, and strolling on this road with a relaxed look. On this road, there were not only the two of them, but also several other patients, who were also bathing in the sun, but their faces looked a little ugly, and there was despair in their expressions. Perhaps this was the legendary 1% of people. Nangang. Hey. What's the matter with the Water City Secret Realm? What did you say just now about it being related to the mythical beast? In the wheelchair, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and asked. Under the circumstances at that time, he didn't ask much, but looking at Nangang Yeo's expression, he knew that this Water City Secret Realm was very extraordinary. After Nangang Yeo explained it, Zhang Xingyun knew the ins and outs of this secret realm. It turned out that the Water City Secret Realm was also called the Water Capital Secret Realm. It came more than 30 years ago, but this Water City Secret Realm did not want to be integrated into the Blue Star like most secret realms, but like the Xianlan Secret Realm of the Magic City University, it is a semi-independent secret realm. The government sent a team to explore it at the first time and found that there were treasures everywhere in the secret realm, and there were many natural treasures. The strength of the elves in the secret realm is also very strong. Later, the leading elves in the secret realm had a meeting with relevant government personnel. From then on, this Water City secret realm also became a trial secret realm. It's just that this secret realm is a little special. This trial has requirements. Those who can enter the secret realm are required to be young people with abilities and cannot be too old. There are also some other requirements, such as opening once every 3 years. In the secret realm, you can only defeat and not kill, and you need the elves to be willing to subdue. The elves inside cannot kill the trainer or the trainer's elves. The number of people entering the secret realm each time cannot be too large, etc. The government agreed to it and made 3 rules with several legendary elves in the secret realm. Later, the numerous resources and high quality elves in the secret realm also attracted many young talents to go for the trial. Later, during a trial, a trainer found the elf egg of the mythical beast and broke the news that the mythical beast was choosing a trainer. Later, this news was also confirmed by several legendary elves in the secret realm. As soon as the news came out, people were boiling, and they all rushed to this Water City secret realm, all thinking about whether they could get the recognition of the mythical beast and become a mythical beast trainer. Later, it was the government's action that prevented chaos. Since then, requirements and arrangements have been made for people entering the secret realm. For example, their Magic City University was allocated 5 places. 5 places sounds small, but it was obtained after many negotiations. The top 10 universities in China are all like this. The lower the ranking of the university, the fewer places it has. Universities that are not in the top 100 do not even have a place. Some places are also allocated to the military, to noble families, to people who have made contributions, etc. The allocation of places is still very tight. If you can enter the secret realm, there is a certain probability that you can get the recognition of the beast and become a beast trainer. Who would not be tempted by such a temptation? Even noble families such as the Imperial Capital Dragon family and the Sandstorm Pei family are flocking to it. Even if you enter the secret realm and cannot get the recognition of the beast, the presence of high quality elves and numerous treasures in the secret realm will make people who enter feel that the trip is worthwhile. What is the beast inside? Zhang Xingyun asked, already having a guess in his mind. Lacius and Lacius. Sure enough, Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. When he heard the word Water City, he had a guess in his mind. He didn't expect that it was really Cardius and the other two. At this moment, Zhang Xingyun's heart was also moved. This is a mythical beast, a real living mythical beast in reality, not data in the game. Hahaha, you also want to get the recognition of the mythical beast? Then you have to be mentally prepared. So many geniuses, trainers with extremely high talents, can't get recognition. We can only say that we have a chance. Nangang Yeo saw Zhang Xingyun's face and knew what he was thinking, so he spoke. Mythical beast, who wouldn't be moved? Zhang Xingyun replied, looking at the sky with a dim look in his eyes. Yes, who wouldn't be moved by the mythical beast, but unfortunately, no one knows the recognition conditions of the mythical beast. It has been so many years, and no one has been recognized. Nangang Yeo responded, saying this reality, and then said, of course, although that's what I said, I can't do it that way. I still have to do my best. What if? Yeah. Zhang Xingyun nodded in agreement. In today's era, the status of the mythical beast is no less than that of the nuclear bomb before the advent of the secret realm, or even more. Therefore, even if there is a 1 in 10,000 chance of being recognized by the mythical beast in the secret realm, people will flock to it. Even the aristocratic families are no exception. P.S. Happy New Year everyone. Have a happy New Year's Eve and a happy New Year. Chapter 458 Confession. That will be in March of next year. The wheelchair also stopped, and the two looked at the surrounding scenery. This is also a place in the hospital for patients to relax. The buildings and green plants here are very pleasing to the eye, and the flowers and plants also emit a heartwarming fragrance, which makes people feel good visually and olfactorily. Yayo. Zhang Xingyun suddenly spoke, with a nervous tone. Well, what's wrong? Nangang Yeo replied softly, still a little surprised that he would call Yeo that. At this point, Zhang Xingyun paused for a while, and his ears turned red. Nangang Yeo did not speak either. She guessed something, and her face turned slightly red, waiting quietly. That. Zhang Xingyun seemed to have made up his mind, and shouted loudly, I like you, can you be my girlfriend? The voice was a little loud, but Nangang Yeo could also hear the nervousness in the words. After saying this, Zhang Xingyun's face also turned red. Seeing that the person behind him did not move, he felt nervous, cramped, embarrassed, and other emotions in his heart. Well, this I do. After waiting for 2 or 3 seconds without a response, Zhang Xingyun opened his mouth to try to ease the embarrassment, but he was interrupted halfway through, and he heard her say the 3 words I do. At this moment, Zhang Xingyun's head felt buzzing. Nangang Yeo hugged him from behind, her face pressed against his, and whispered in his ear, I do. Okay. Zhang Xingyun didn't know what to do for a moment. He had never confessed his love in his previous life for this life, and he didn't know what to do now that his confession was successful. You idiot, why are you stupid? Seeing him like this, Nangang Yeo also laughed, and said in a soft voice, I'm so happy. She tapped his shoulder lightly and whispered, how can you express your love like this? There are no flowers. Fortunately, I don't mind these. If it were any other girl, you would be rejected. Impossible, absolutely impossible. I only like you. I can't express my love to any other girl. As soon as she finished speaking, Zhang Xingyun immediately replied with a firm tone, and without any hesitation. Seeing him like this, Nangang Yeo laughed even more happily. Zhang Xingyun also realized this problem. This time his confession seemed a bit hasty, without even some basic preparation. So he stretched out a hand, picked a few bright red flowers from the flowers next to him, and handed them to her. Here are the flowers. I was a little hasty this time, and that. Okay, I'll take your words. Nangang Yeo smiled, and took the flowers he had just picked. Although she didn't mind these, it was always better to have something than nothing. Zhang Xingyun also took the opportunity to pin one of the most beautiful flowers on her hair. It's really beautiful. Flowers go with beauty. Zhang Xingyun turned his head, looked at it for a few times, and said beautifully. Hearing his praise, Nangang Yeo's heart was like honey, and she said softly. Actually, I like you too. Hearing this, Zhang Xingyun was also full of joy. It turned out that she liked him too. The two of them were silent, quietly enjoying this moment in the warm sunshine. The second brother has succeeded, right? In a corner, Lan Yu and the other two gathered together, looking at the two people snuggling together, and laughed. The three of them returned, after finishing their meal, and sending their classmates away. The second brother has succeeded, it's not easy. Qian Xiuming also laughed. Pei Chenjun nodded on the side. He also felt that Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao were a good match. He also saw that the two were interested in each other, but they just lacked an opportunity. Now the opportunity has come, and it is expected that they can succeed. Boss, Zimeng Meng went over there. Do you want to stop them? Qian Xiuming pulled Lan Yuchen's sleeve and pointed at Zimeng Meng and the other two who were coming. That's a must. Let's go. Don't let them pass. Take me to teleport. Oh, okay. After teleporting a few times, the three of them came to Zimeng Meng and the others and stopped them. But this movement was also discovered by Zhang Xingyun and the others. Push me over. Zhang Xingyun said softly. Okay. Nangang Yao slowly pushed the wheelchair and came to the six people. Zimeng Meng and the others saw the flowers in Nangang Yao's hand and a fresh flower in her hair. Looking at the two people's appearance, they also knew what was going on. They all smiled and blessed them. Lan Yuchen and the others gave him a thumbs up and gestured a few times. After chatting for a few words, the 8 people returned to the ward talking and laughing. After returning to the ward, a nurse came to the ward and asked one of them to go to the pharmacy to get medicine. You sit down, I'll go. Nangang Yao stood up and said, or let me go. Lan Yuchen also stood up and said, no need, I've been there a few times, you guys are fine here. After saying that, Nangang Yao walked out of the ward and rushed to the pharmacy to get medicine. Zimeng Meng and the others followed. Yao, are you guys done? On the way, Zimeng Meng asked with a curious look on her face, and the two people next to her said the same. Yeah. Nangang Yao nodded and responded. Actually, you two are quite a good match. I can see that you two are interested in each other, which is expected. Long Zhao said with a smile. I didn't expect that Yao would be the first one to get out of being single in our dormitory. I didn't know when it would be. It's almost time. Ah, Meng Meng is not bad either. It can only be said that fate has not arrived yet. Yeah. Then tell me, when he confessed to you, what did you feel at that time? How should I put it? It's a bit unexpected and not bad. Second brother, you're pretty fast. I thought I had to wait for a while. In the ward, Lan Yuchen gave Zhang Xingyun a thumbs up and praised him. Jian Wenshan and the others have gone back, right? Facing Lan Yuchen's praise, Zhang Xingyun smiled a few times and then asked about the classmates who came to visit him. They went back. After dinner, I sent them to the subway in trance. Well, that's good. Thank you for the brothers, Zhang Xingyun thanked. Don't be so polite. Really, everyone has inconvenient times. Lan Yuchen waved his hand. Second brother, don't be so formal. It's nothing. We are all brothers. Qian Xiuming also talked to him, and Pei Chenjun beside him also nodded. Seeing the 3 people in front of him, Zhang Xingyun was very moved. It was also his luck to meet the 3 of them. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 459, Chatting and Tickets. Next, let's interview the second brother. No, Mr. Zhang, how did you confess your feelings? What was the process like? How did you feel? In the ward, Lan Yuchen held a banana and placed it in front of Zhang Xingyun, interviewing with a gossipy look on his face. Qian Xiuming and the other man beside him also looked over and looked at him. Okay, since you asked sincerely, I will tell you mercifully that, in order to prevent the world from being destroyed. Stop talking nonsense. Get to the point. Lan Yuchen interrupted. Well, okay, actually it's like that, mainly because I'm too handsome. Zhang Xingyun joked. TSK. Lan Yuchen and Qian Xiuming both raised their middle fingers to show their disdain. Actually, I just felt it at the time, so. After making a joke, Zhang Xingyun also said a few simple words. That's it? That's it. Yeah, that's it. Zhang Xingyun nodded. Hiss, why is this different from what I thought? Shouldn't confession be vigorous, or in a suitable environment, with atmosphere group or something? Lan Yachun flipped through his so-called secret of love and muttered. I can't figure it out. Are girls so easy to chase nowadays? Don't think about it, boss. They are in love with each other. If you confess, it will naturally succeed. Seeing Lan Yachun like this, Qin Ziyoming spoke up. Dong dong dong. At this time, the door of the ward was knocked, and then Nangang Yeo and others walked in from outside, with a bag of things in their hands, which should be medicines. What are you talking about? Zimeng Meng asked. Talk about what to eat in the evening. Lan Yachun replied immediately, and put the secret of love in his hand into the storage space. What to eat? Let's have barbecue. Speaking of food, Zimeng Meng also became excited and suggested going to have barbecue in the evening. Grilled eggplant. It's delicious. I think so too. Then I must order grilled eggplant every time. Lan Yachun replied. Ha ha ha, me too. The two chatted about what to eat in the evening, and Zhang Xingyun, with the help of Nangang Yeo, took the medicine. I don't know when you will be cured. After taking the medicine, Nangang Yeo asked worriedly. Don't worry, it will be soon. The most serious injury of his injury this time was the trauma to his origin, and the physical injury was not a big problem. Zhang Xingyun had thought about this at the time, but there was no other way, so he had to do it this way. If not, he might not be able to hold on until Sukyun came, and he would be killed by Manaphy and Zapdos, and even Nangang Yeo would not have time to teleport away. Overall, Zhang Xingyun decided that it was worth it. Xingyun, you have become a rich man, with 10 billion elf coins, and Nangang, you are also a rich woman, with 8 billion elf coins. As they talked, everyone talked about the rewards for the two. Everyone present knew what Dean Lin said in the morning. The reward Nangang Yeo received was a little less than his, but it was not much different. I'd rather not have this award. I almost lost my life this time. Nangang Yeo said faintly. I'm glad you're okay. Zhang Xingyun patted her hand and comforted her. And you actually teleported me away. If you do it again next time, I will. Okay, I won't do it again. It's my fault. Zhang Xingyun comforted him, admitting his mistake. No matter whether it was right or not, he just admitted it first. He would dare to do it next time. TSK 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 TSK. Qin Ziyoming and others looked at the two of them and said with a click of the tongue. By the way, it's also very good to be able to go to the Water City Secret Realm once. If you are lucky and get the recognition of the Divine Beast, then Woohoo will take off on the spot. Lan Yachun said. He also knew the situation in this Water City Secret Realm. How can it be so easy? So many geniuses have failed. You can imagine how difficult it is. Zhang Xingyun retorted. At least there is a chance. Even if it is 1 in 10,000, it is still a chance. For those who didn't go, the chance is 0. Lan Yachun continued. That's the same. By the way, have you heard about what happened in the South China Sea these days? Qin Ziyoming suddenly said. As soon as he said this, everyone in the room looked at him. What happened? Zhang Xingyun asked. He had been lying in bed these days, and didn't know anything about this. I heard that a new secret realm has descended in the South China Sea. A kind of elf was found in it. It is very powerful. It is likely to be a mythical beast, or a new mythical beast. That's it. Qin Ziyoming picked up his phone, and showed the picture on the screen. The picture showed an elf similar to a Doberman. Zygote. Zhang Xingyun took a look and immediately recognized the elf in the picture. It was Zygote's 10% form. Don't look at it as small. It has the strength of a champion. It is extremely powerful. Qin Ziyoming continued. I also heard that Team Rocket also rushed there, and a fierce battle broke out there. I heard that for this beast, many powerful kings died on the spot. Zimeng Meng also broke this shocking news. Those who can reach the level of a king of heaven must have many trump cards. So many of them have fallen there, and you can imagine how dangerous it is. Every time it comes to a beast of heaven, it's always like this. So Xingyun, you can be safe this time. You have to thank Shujin. Nangang Yeo reminded. I know, when I'm discharged from the hospital, I will go to Xianlan Secret Realm to thank Shujin. Zhang Xingyun nodded in response. If it weren't for Shujin, He might have been killed on the spot by Manaphy. The strength of a king of heaven is still a little bit short of the beast of heaven. In the case of a beast of the level of Zapdos, it is like this, not to mention a beast of the level of Zygarde, even if it is in a 10% state. Time always passes very quickly during the chat, and soon it is night. Lang Yuchen and his friends went out to eat together. Nangang Yeo stayed behind as usual, and did not go out with them. The others did not force her. An hour later, Lang Yuchen and his friends came in from outside. Old second, you are in trouble. As soon as he entered the door, he heard Lang Yuchen shouting. An accident? What happened? It should be about your confession. Here is a ticket. I just picked it up. Lang Yuchen handed over a ticket. Zhang Xingyun took it and looked at it. There were several pictures on the ticket, which were the scenes of him picking flowers. I can't believe that someone confessed like this and was fined. TSK 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 TSK. He as soon as these words came out, Zimeng and the others laughed. Old second, 666. Lang Yuchen made a 6-6 gesture. Zhang Xingyun laughed dryly a few times, feeling a little embarrassed. He didn't think of this at the time. PS. Happy New Year. Chapter 416 Nangang Yan's visit. Nangang Yeo took the ticket and exclaimed, looking at him suspiciously, and said faintly, can't your hand move? Then you still need me to feed you. In the picture, there is a scene of Zhang Xingyun picking flowers with his hands. This. Zhang Xingyun was stunned for a moment, remembering that Lang Yuchen asked him to lie down in the morning, and asked Nangang Yeo to feed him. Have your hands recovered? Nangang Yeo continued to ask. Oh, this shows what kind of person our second child is. He forced his injured body to pick flowers for you. It's rare to see such a loving child. When Zhang Xingyun was stunned, Lang Yuchen rushed to say, boss, steady. Zhang Xingyun secretly praised Lang Yuchen. Lang Yuchen smiled back. Yeo, it's getting late now. We have to go back. Do you want to come with us? Zimeng on the side looked at the time, stood up and said, no, I'm here today. Nangang Yeo refused. Okay then. Zimeng and the others did not force it. Then the second brother, we'll leave first too. Lang Yuchen also said, stood up and patted his clothes. Okay, have a nice trip. Zhang Xingyun responded. Nangang, our second brother will be in your care. After Lang Yuchen gave his instructions, he walked out of the ward with Zimeng and the others. Nangang Yeo sent everyone downstairs before returning to the ward. They left, right? Yes, they left. After Nangang Yeo responded, she brought a basin of hot water to the side of the ward and helped him wash up. You've recovered very well. Your muscles are no longer atrophied, they've all stretched out. You were all wrinkled that day, and I was shocked when I saw it. By the way, what secret method did you use? Why do you have such serious sequelae? If you were in the wild, you would probably die. Nangang Yeo asked. Hey, where is my space equipment? Zhang Xingyun did not answer, but asked about the space equipment. He originally had two space equipment. One was a space ring and the other was a space backpack. After waking up, he did not see them. I forgot to say it. Then, Nangang Yeo took out his space equipment from the cabinet next to the bed. Yeo, open my space ring. The bottle with the word explosion on the left is it. Also take out the scroll next to the bottle. Zhang Xingyun instructed her to take out the things inside. He also had a copy in his space ring. This is also something I got by chance. You can also practice it, but I hope you don't need to use it, and you don't need to use it. Of course, if you need to use it, I will use it. Zhang Xingyun said seriously, his face full of seriousness. Okay. After hearing his words, Nangang Yeo smiled sweetly, took it and didn't say anything. I still remember, when I first met you, you only had Nidalang. I didn't expect that your current strength is stronger than mine. Nangang Yeo said with a look of reminiscence. Remember, when I first met you, you were so nervous, as if you were afraid that I would kill you. Ha ha ha. At this point, Nangang Yeo laughed. She didn't expect that the boy she met in the wild would become her boyfriend now. Also, when I first arrived at class 20, you saw me and avoided me. Am I that scary? How could that be? My wife is so beautiful. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. You were not like that at the time. Nangang Yeo blushed and exposed himself. Oh, that was Zhang Xingyun in the past. What does it have to do with me now? Puff Nangang Yeo chuckled and was amused by his words. Zhang Xingyun saw Nangang Yeo laugh and he laughed too. For some reason, he was very happy to see her laugh. He raised his hand and held her jade hand tightly. Isn't your hand not fully healed yet? Feeling the warmth from his hand, Nangang Yeo gently opened it, but his hand was tightly clenched. I'm recovered. At this moment, I'm fully recovered. Zhang Xingyun said shamelessly. In her eyes, he was still a wounded soldier who couldn't even raise his hand. Nonsense. Nangang Yeo stretched out her other hand and covered his hand. The two chatted until late at night before they stopped chatting and began to practice. There was no conversation that night and time quickly came to the next day. When the sun shone into the room, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes. After a night of practice, he recovered a little. After feeling it, he roughly determined that he could stand up and walk a few steps. Morning. Nangang Yeo's voice came to his ears. Morning. After saying good morning to each other, he finished washing with her help. At about 9 o'clock in the morning, the two were on the main road of the hospital again. This time he did not sit in a wheelchair, but was supported by her and walked step by step. I really don't know what your special ability is. Your recovery ability is so strong that you can walk today. I don't know either. Zhang Xingyun replied. He really didn't know what his special ability was. His special ability was not just superpowers, but also included wave power, Changpan power and other abilities. The two of them walked one by one, and passers-by couldn't help but look at them curiously. Haha, brothers, do you think that Leo now looks like the one who had some skin surgery? On the steps, Lan Yuchen looked at the two people walking one by one and said happily, it really looks a bit like that. Qian Xiuming also laughed. After Lan Yuchen said that, it really looked like that. Hey, what are the couple blocking Leo doing? Are they looking for trouble? Qian Xiuming frowned and said, let's get closer. If it's true, take action immediately. Okay. At this time, in front of Zhang Xingyun and the others, there was a man and a woman blocking their way. The man had handsome features, a tall figure, and a gentle temperament. Even if he was wearing casual clothes, he could not hide his elegant and extraordinary demeanor. Next to him was a woman with picturesque features. The woman was wearing a lavender dress, with a bag hanging on her slender arm, and she looked at the two with a smile. A man and a woman were blocking Zhang Xingyun's way. Brother, Zuana, why are you here? Nangang Yeo shouted happily. The man and the woman blocking the two. The man was Nangang Yeo's cousin Nangang Yan, and the woman was Wang Zuana. Zhang Xingyun knew both of them, and had met them several times. I came to see you. If it wasn't for Zuana saying so, I wouldn't know you were in so much danger this time. Nangang Yan said slowly, his tone was very gentle. Zuana said it? Nangang Yeo looked at Wang Zuana, with a questioning look in his eyes. Chapter 461 Conversation. Brother Yan asked me personally, I can't lie, right? Feeling Nangang Yeo's eyes, Wang Zuana spoke a little embarrassedly. I just arrived in the magic city last night. I went to look for you, but couldn't find you, so I contacted Zuana. Nangang Yan said softly, his tone as gentle as ever, looking at Zhang Xingyun with a faint gaze. Hello. Seeing him looking over, Zhang Xingyun greeted. Well, hello. Nangang Yan said lightly, his tone was neither salty nor bland. This is not a place to talk, let's talk in the ward. Nangang Yeo suggested. Okay. The three of them naturally had no objection and all agreed. Come, I'll help you. Nangang Yeo took out a wheelchair from the space, put it on the ground, and helped him sit in the wheelchair. Seeing his little sister helping him so carefully, Nangang Yan felt a little unhappy, but didn't say anything. Little sister, let me push it. Nangang Yan stepped forward and said. No, I'll do it. Nangang Yeo refused and pushed the wheelchair to the ward by herself. On the way back to the ward, Zhang Xingyun always felt a pair of eyes staring at him, with many meanings in their eyes. Little traitor, you actually told my brother. Nangang Yeo accused Wang Zuana telepathically. Yeo, don't be like this. Your brother came to see me in person. How can I lie? You know I won't lie to your brother. I won't listen to you, little traitor. On the other side, Lang Yuchen and the other two were observing the four people in a corner. That woman seems to be Wang Zuana, the one from the Wang family. She doesn't look like she's here to cause trouble. Qian Xiuming said. He was a native of the Magic City, so he naturally knew Wang Zuana. Third brother, do you know that person? Of course I know her. Who in our generation doesn't know the eldest daughter of the Wang family? That person shouldn't be here to cause trouble for the second brother. Do you know that man? Why is the look in his eyes when he looks at the second brother wrong? Lang Yuchen asked. I don't know. Qian Xiuming shook his head. His name is Nangang Yan. He should be her brother. He visited my house in the middle of last year. At this time, Pei Chenjin next to him said, revealing Nangang Yan's identity. So he is his brother. No wonder. Lang Yuchen looked suddenly. Then do we still have to go there? Don't. Let's see the situation. In the ward, Nangang Yan and the others each found a place to sit down. Brother, Zuana, have some fruit. Nangang Yao brought the washed fruit and placed it in front of the two of them and greeted them. You can also wash fruit. It's not a loss to come here this time. I can eat the fruit washed by you, the eldest lady. Wang Zuana smiled and picked up the skewer and started eating. Brother, you eat too. Okay. Nangang Yan agreed, but he hesitated to move. He looked at Zhang Xingyun with a pair of eyes, with a sense of scrutiny. Brother, why are you looking at him? By the way, let me introduce him. Seeing Nangang Yan like this, Nangang Yao spoke. No need to introduce him. I have met him once, and I know him. Nangang Yan interrupted. When did you meet? How come I don't know? Nangang Yao asked in confusion. In Changning, when Qialang attacked Changning. Zhang Xingyun replied. Oh. Nangang Yao nodded. The four chatted in the room for a while. Nangang Yan gave Wang Zuana a look, and Wang Zuana also smiled and nodded. Yao, let's go downstairs. I still have a lot to say to you. Wang Zuana stood up, pulled Nangang Yao's clothes, and said in a soft voice. But, it's okay. Are you still afraid that something will happen to your brother? Let's go. I have something to ask you. Finally, Nangang Yao was pulled out by Wang Zuana. After the two left, Zhang Xingyun and the other two were left in the room. No one spoke at this time, and the ward suddenly became quiet. I already know everything about this time. Thank you for saving Jaoa at the first time. Nangang Yan said calmly. His tone was not hurried or slow. This is what I should do. Zhang Xingyun replied. His expression was very calm. As a thank you, you can ask for anything you need. I can satisfy it. Whether you are talking about high-level resources or other things, our Nangang family can satisfy you, as long as you ask. Nangang Yan looked at him with burning eyes, waiting for his response. I don't need any resources, and saving her is not for these. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and said lightly. Oh. Nangang Yan stood up, walked to the bedside, and looked at him. Your strength is growing quite fast. I remember that, when you were in Changning, your strength was only about ordinary level. After looking at him for a few seconds, Nangang Yan sat down and said, yeah. I repeat again, just ask for whatever you need, just consider it your reward this time. Nangang Yan emphasized his tone, patted his clothes, and looked indifferent. I said, I didn't save her for anything. Zhang Xingyun also emphasized his tone. How about a quasi-god spirit? What quasi-god do you want? Dragonite or Garchomp? Or? Nangang Yan looked at him directly and said, or resources to advance to the heavenly king level. I can even help your spirit advance to the heavenly king level. I'll repeat it again. Zhang Xingyun also looked back and said word by word, I'm really not doing this for these. I can earn the resources myself, and I'll be promoted to the heavenly king level myself. You have to think clearly. This is a heavenly king level. Whether it's status or wealth, it's something that will benefit you for a lifetime. Zhang Xingyun smiled and shook his head slightly without saying anything. There was no need to say anything. The other party seemed to regard him as a profitable person, and every few words were a reward for him. Seeing that he didn't speak, Nangang Yan continued, you should be able to guess that our family has a great history. Let me give you a brief introduction. Our Nangang family is a big family in Jingling. Even in the whole of China, our Nangang family is also well known. I won't talk about the economy, it's only more than a dozen trillion groups. In terms of strength, our family has many strong people, and we also worship the divine beast Yan Emperor. By the way, the divine beast trainer of this session is Jo's father. So what? Zhang Xingyun asked. So I want to say that you stay away from her. I can see that Jo probably has some feelings for you, but with your conditions, I don't think it's suitable. Instead of waiting for the tragedy to happen, it's better to get rid of the signs before it happens. It's great for you and her. What do you think? You mean, I don't deserve it? Well, although the words are a bit harsh, this is what I want to express. Xingyun nodded and said, Chapter 462 Recognition. So I think you and Jo are not suitable. Although my words are a bit harsh, this is a reality. So, if you need anything, just ask. I can satisfy you one by one. Xingyun said very calmly, without emotion in his voice, with a business-like look, and completely different from the gentleness he showed when facing Xingyun. Ha ha ha. Zhang Xingyun laughed. What are you laughing at? Hearing his laughter, Xingyun looked at him with interest. I'm laughing at you for laughing at me so much. Haven't you heard that you shouldn't despise the poor young people? Zhang Xingyun's eyes were sharp, and he said in a deep voice, Oh. Then have you ever heard that several generations of foundation could not be defeated by your decades of struggle? Times have changed. Perhaps in the old days, I would agree with this statement, but Zhang Xingyun changed his tone, met Xingyun's gaze, and said firmly, but now is the elf era. Do you think you have the ability? Yes. You must have it. For example, I'm the champion of this year's Magic City University freshman. I'm 18 years old, and I have the combat power of the king level. Besides, I can also make advanced energy blocks, and Zhang Xingyun showed his advantages one by one, and every time he said one, Xingyun nodded slightly. Well, your conditions are good and excellent, but not enough. I still think you and Jo are not suitable. Is there anything else? Xingyun replied. His tone was a little emotional, not as official as before. Others. Zhang Xingyun's face became serious, and he said in a sonorous voice, I like her, and she likes me too. Not enough. With Jo's conditions, there are many people who like her, and with her conditions, she can find a suitable partner in the future. Xingyun shook his head and said, I like her, and I can give my life for her, just like this time. At least before I die, I will protect her. Well, in this case, it's just barely enough. You have passed my level. Xingyun laughed. Zhang Xingyun thought he would squeeze him again, and it seemed that he had passed his test, and he also recognized himself. Thinking of this, he also laughed. He was very happy to be recognized by her family, and she would not make it difficult. You have passed my level. Do you want to smoke? Xingyun took out a cigarette and handed it to him. No, I don't smoke. Xingyun opened the window and smoked a cigarette. The smoke was also controlled by a force and did not spread to Zhang Xingyun. Jo has been spoiled since she was a child, and she has a little temper. You have to accommodate her a little. Yes, I will. By the way, let me tell you, Jo has a verbal fiancé, and that guy seems to be interested in Jo, and that guy has a good background. After taking a puff of cigarette, Xingyun turned around and said with a smile, but you still have time. At least you won't discuss marriage in the 4 years of college. You have to have a sense of urgency. Xingyun put out the cigarette butt, patted Zhang Xingyun on the shoulder and said, yes. Then, Xingyun took out a thick book from the storage space and handed it to him. This is some of my experience about the king level, and there are some precautions. You can refer to it and take few teachers. Don't refuse. This request is not to make you leave Jo, but to match you too. Thank you. After a moment of silence, Zhang Xingyun did not refuse his kindness and accepted it. No need to thank me. I did this for Jo. With her personality, it's hard for her to change after she has chosen someone. Although I said that just now, I won't do that. I respect her choice, and I hope she can find someone she likes. Xingyun said slowly. What he did just now was just a test. He was still very satisfied with Zhang Xingyun's impression. The conditions were a little worse, but he was willing to sacrifice his life for her. This alone was very precious. This was also what satisfied him. You should work hard. After graduating from college, you should at least have the strength of a king. Try to win the championship in some well-known competitions to increase your weight. I will. Are you sure? Yes, and it must be. Zhang Xingyun said firmly. By the way, add a contact number. If you need any help, you can also come to me. Zhang Xingyun took out his mobile phone and said, I don't have a mobile phone now. My mobile phone was destroyed by Manaphy, and I haven't bought a new one yet. Then I'll give you a contact number and contact you later. Zhang Xingyun took out a black card and handed it over. Okay. Zhang Xingyun took it. Do what you should do, and be careful about what you can't do. Zhang Xingyun said meaningfully. Okay. Zhang Xingyun agreed directly, and he knew what Zhang Xingyun meant. Click at this time, the door of the ward was also opened, and Zhang Xingyun and the other person walked in from outside, with bags hanging in their hands. Seeing the expressions of the two people, it shouldn't be bad, and Zhang Xingyun was relieved. Brother, why are you smoking here? It's so bad for Xingyun. As soon as he entered the room, Zhang Xingyun smelled the smoke, and came to the window and opened it. Okay, pay attention next time. Hearing Zhang Xingyun's blame, Zhang Xingyun smiled and responded. I bought you a few sets of clothes and a mobile phone, so you don't have to wear this hospital gown all the time. Zhang Xingyun came in front of Zhang Xingyun, put down the bag, and took out a new fruit mobile phone from it. By the way, brother, I also bought you a few sets of clothes. See if they are suitable. Pick up one of the bags, and put it in front of Zhang Xingyun. No need to try, Joa. Everything you bought is suitable. That's right. This is also picked by Zuana. Zhang Xingyun said happily, pointing to Wang Zuana next to her. Thank you, Sister Zuana. You're welcome. Brother Zhang Xingyun called softly, came to Zhang Xingyun's back, and helped him massage. What are you doing? Is there anything you want me to do? Zhang Xingyun looked up, and glanced at her. When he heard this brother, he knew that she had something to ask him. Well, about Xingyun's matter, you know what to say later. As he spoke, the strength of his hands also increased a bit. I also bought you clothes, so you know to tell the old man and others, right? I knew your things were not easy to take. Zhang Xingyun chuckled, and then said, I know what to say, don't worry. Don't do such dangerous things next time. If Zuana hadn't told me this time, I wouldn't know. Yeah, I know. Zhang Xingyun nodded like a chicken pecking at rice and agreed. Chapter 463 Breakthrough and Discharge. Okay, I have something else to do, so that's it for now. Zhang Xingyun stood up and said goodbye. Brother, I'll see you off. Seeing Zhang Xingyun was leaving, Zhang Xingyun also stood up. I hope that next time I see you, you'll be a superstar. Zhang Xingyun glanced at Zhang Xingyun and said softly, well, I will. Goodbye. Goodbye. After saying that, he walked out of the ward, and Zhang Xingyun and Wang Zuana followed him out. It seems that I have to hurry up and become stronger, or it's a matter of strength. Looking at the empty ward, Zhang Xingyun thought to himself that whether he could continue with Zhang Xingyun would also be affected by his strength. On the other side, after watching Zhang Xingyun go upstairs, Zhang Xingyun and Wang Zuana got into a black car. What's the situation with Joa? How is the progress with him? Zhang Xingyun said, fiddling with the steering wheel with both hands, and looking at the rear view mirror. I heard from her that he just confessed his love to her, and she has been taking care of him these days. From her behavior, I can see that Joa is really moved this time. Wang Zuan looked at Zhang Xingyun and said softly, yeah. Zhang Xingyun responded and continued to drive the car. Brother Yan, do you have time to come for dinner tonight? I still have some things to deal with, maybe next time. Zhang Xingyun replied, looking at the car in front of him. Oh, okay then. Next time, I'll visit Uncle Wang by the way. Oh. In the ward, Lan Yuchen and the other two came to the ward, and found a place to sit down, talking with Zhang Xingyun. Second brother, what's the situation now? Lan Yuchen said, looking at him curiously. Her brother is here, and he's testing me by the way. Zhang Xingyun replied, and then briefly told him what happened just now. Oh, It seems that he is a good person, and he also gives you some support. Yeah, not bad. Catcher, what are you talking about? At this time, Nangang Yeo also walked in from outside, looking at the four people and said, "Talk about your brother." "My brother? By the way, did my brother say anything to you?" Nangang Yeo came to the ward and sat down, looking at Zhang Xingyun and asked, "Talk about something. What is my brother's attitude? He shouldn't say anything unpleasant." "No, we talked pretty well, you saw it." That's good, that's good. I was just afraid that you two would quarrel." Nangang Yeo's expression relaxed. "No, how could I make it difficult for you?" Zhang Xingyun smiled and held Nangang Yeo's hand. "Yeah. This second brother." Lan Yuchen shook his head and walked aside to play with his mobile phone. Day after day, time quickly came to half a month later. On this day, Lan Yuchen and the other two came to the ward and packed up their things. Today was also the day when Zhang Xingyun was discharged from the hospital. After half a month of recuperation, Zhang Xingyun has completely recovered and his strength has also improved. He successfully broke through to the late stage of quasi-heaven leaking 2 days ago, which can be regarded as a blessing in disguise. "Let's go, let's find a place to welcome the second brother." Lan Yuchen greeted and took the lead in the driver's seat. Several people responded and walked into the commercial vehicle driven by Lan Yuchen. With the roar of the engine, they drove away from the hospital. Zhang Xingyun was in a very good mood. After being discharged from the hospital, he talked and laughed with several people. After eating and drinking, Zhang Xingyun, accompanied by Nangang Yeo, came to the Digwang Elf Club. Nidoking and others stayed here to train during his hospitalization. As soon as the door opened, the elves shouted. Zhang Xingyun looked around and saw that the elves were training hard. This training room is also very large and well equipped. It is divided into several areas, including desert area, green grass area, forest area, seawater area, etc. Heibu, a brilliant electric current flashed, and the electric beast fell from the sky, and with a snap, it landed in front of Zhang Xingyun and the others, stretching out its hands and greeting them excitedly. "Heibu, Heibu, it's the electric beast, you've also broken through." "Heibu, Heibu," the electric beast shouted, moving its body, showing off its strong muscles. Nido, Nido, Hassan, Hassan, Nidoking, and several elves also heard the sound and looked over. After seeing that the person coming was Zhang Xingyun, they all stopped training, ran over, surrounded the two, and greeted them with concern. After Zhang Xingyun comforted them one by one, he carried Ghastly into the training room. "Even if this matter is over, have you trained well?" Heibu, Heibu, the electric beast was the first to stand up and express his opinion. "Well, the electric beast, your aura is stable. I can see that you have been training hard for a while." Zhang Xingyun patted the electric beast on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Heibu, Heibu, well, my breakthrough this time is also related to you. 2 days ago, I suddenly felt a surge of energy. With the help of this energy, I broke through the bottleneck and completed the breakthrough. It turned out that it was the energy brought by your breakthrough, the electric shock monster." "Heibu, then the electric shock monster, show me your recent training results," Zhang Xingyun said to the electric shock monster in the center of the training room. Heibu, after listening, he walked to the field beside and began to show its recent training results. Standing on the green grass field, the electric shock monster's body crackled and lightning came out and then floated into the air. There was no need to set up an electromagnetic field and then use the power of the electromagnetic field to achieve the purpose of suspension. Then, the lightning from the electric shock monster's body left the body, and more than 10 lightnings surrounded the electric shock monster. Heibu, the electric shock monster operated more than 10 lightnings and turned them into a thick thunder whip, which was swung to one side. After swinging dozens of times, the thunder whip turned into nothingness. With a few loud bangs, a large black pit appeared on the ground. Electric arcs were still jumping in the pits, making a sizzling sound. "It's a good idea, but the speed is not fast enough. The speed needs to be improved. Moreover, this move can be used not only for attack, but also for defense. For example, you can rotate around yourself. When your speed is enough, you can then." Zhang Xingyun commented and gave suggestions. "Heibu, Heibu, okay, continue to show it." "Heibu, then." The electric shock monster showed one after another, and also showed its ideas. Zhang Xingyun corrected the mistakes, and praised those who were in the right direction. After the electric shock monster, the water turtle came on stage, and also showed its recent training results. Then one after another, they all went on stage to show. Looking at the performance of the elves, Zhang Xingyun was very pleased. During the time he was in the hospital, the elves were not idle and made progress. Chapter 464 Desert Land. At night, Zhang Xingyun returned to the dormitory. As soon as he entered the room, he saw Lan Yuchen and the other two chatting. "You're back?" Lan Yuchen asked. "You're back." Zhang Xingyun went to the sofa and found a place to sit down. "What are you talking about? Whose Pokémon has broken through again?" When he entered the room just now, Zhang Xingyun happened to hear the word breakthrough and asked, "Oh, it's my Lucario who has broken through to the Qua-seeking. I can be considered a Qua-seeking trainer. My Alakazam is the same. He also broke through to the Qua-seeking 2 days ago." Qian Xiaoming also said, "Congratulations." Zhang Xingyun congratulated. "Hahaha, compared to you, it's still a lot worse. By the way, your Pokémon should be stronger." Lan Yuchen waved his hand and laughed. "Well, there is a small breakthrough, and everyone has made progress. By the way, brothers, does anyone know if there is a desert secret or venue in the Magic City?" Zhang Xingyun said, and asked about the desert venue. "The reason is that his Shakiras is about to evolve, and it is best to evolve in the desert. There are many benefits for Shakiras." "Desert?" Lan Yuchen and others looked at Qian Xiaoming. "He is a native of the Magic City and should know something." "Second brother, why are you looking for this place? It is not easy to find it here in the Magic City. There is a small one." Looking at the eyes of the three people, Qian Xiaoming replied, "Second brother, is your Shakiras going to evolve?" Pei-Chenjin seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Yes, when I went to pick them up today, I found that Shakiras was on the verge of evolution. When Shakiras evolves, it is better to be in the desert area." Zhang Xingyun replied truthfully, "It is also common sense that Shakiras is best evolved in the desert. Everyone present understands it. Of course, it does not mean that it must evolve in the desert. It is also possible to evolve in other places. Tomorrow and the day after tomorrow is the weekend. How about going to my home? I just want to go home and have a look." Pei-Chenjin said, "Oh, right fourth brother, your home is in the northwest, there must be a lot of deserts there." Lan Yuchen suddenly realized, and after he said that, the three of them remembered that the fourth brother Pei-Chenjin's home seemed to be in Xinjiang province in the northwest. There are many desert areas there. Then we can go for a trip. Hahaha, I haven't seen a real desert yet. This is just right. Qian Xiaoming also laughed. He is a local of Modu, and he has never seen a desert. I checked. We don't have any important classes next Monday and Tuesday. They are all public classes, and there is plenty of time. Lan Yuchen looked through his phone and said to the three people, "What do you say, second brother? Do you want to go to Xinjiang province for a stroll and help Shakiras evolve?" Pei-Chenjin looked at Zhang Xingyun and asked, "Hahaha, everyone has decided, so of course I have to go. By the way, can I take Nangan with me?" Zhang Xingyun agreed. He had originally planned to go to Xinjiang province. Now that Pei-Chenjin said so, it would be even better. "Well, you can ask other people in the class, or you can go together, and by the way, you can appreciate the characteristics of our Northwest," Pei-Chenjin said enthusiastically. Hearing this, Zhang Xingyun sent a message to Nangan Yeo, talking about the trip to Xinjiang province. A few seconds later, Nangan Yeo replied, saying that they would go together. "Then it's decided." Zhang Xingyun smiled. "Okay, I'll go book a plane ticket later." "Okay." After Zhang Xingyun finished speaking, he collected his clothes and went to take a shower. Today was the day he was discharged from the hospital, and he had to wash away the bad luck. When he came out with his hair wiped, Pei-Chenjin was booking a plane ticket. "Second brother, send me your message in Nangan's message, so that I can buy a ticket," Pei-Chenjin said. "Okay, I'll send it." "Okay." Pei-Chenjin then made some operations, and the desert trip to Xinjiang province was confirmed. "Okay, the tickets for 8 people have been grabbed," Pei-Chenjin shouted, and posted the screenshot in the dormitory group. 8 people. Who else? Zhang Xingyun asked in confusion. If there were 4 people in their dormitory plus Nangang Yao, there would be 5 people, and he didn't know the other 3, so he asked. Zi Mengmeng, Long Zirao, and Jian Wenchen are going together. Lan Yuchen explained. Oh. Zhang Xingyun responded. Let's go on a trip. I'm here in Xinjiang province. I heard that there are so many beautiful women in Xinjiang province. Qian Xiuming said excitedly. Fortunately, each province has its own characteristics. Now many celebrities are from Xinjiang province. I have wanted to go there for a long time, but I have never had the chance. I'm tired of staying in the magic city. Qian Xiuming complained. Since he was born, he has lived in the magic city in the Jiangnan water town. He still yearns for the desert and can't help but look forward to this desert trip. In fact, the magic city is also very good. The climate is mild and the environment is pleasant. It may be because you have always lived in the magic city. If you are like me, maybe not. Seeing Qian Xiuming's yearning look, Pei Chenjin said happily. Isn't there a saying that the tourist destination you yearn for is the place where others are tired of staying? Zhang Xingyun laughed loudly. Well, that's roughly it. I came to the magic city to study because I yearn for the Jiangnan area, so I ran here from the northwest. Pei Chenjin smiled and talked about the reason why he came to the magic city. Hahaha, I just thought that Shanghai was close to us, and it was also close to our province of Ontario, so I applied for it and came here to study. I had no choice. I wanted to go to the capital at that time, but my dad told me to come here, saying that it was close to home and I could go home on weekends. It made me laugh so hard that I haven't been back yet. Qian Xiuming waved his hand. How about you, second brother? How did you come to Shanghai? The 3 looked over and asked about coming to Shanghai. As for me, I didn't think too much at the beginning. At that time, I thought that any of the top 10 universities in China would be fine, and I was leaning towards Shanghai. Then I asked Nangang, and I didn't expect that she was also leaning towards Shanghai. In the end, I chose Shanghai as well. Zhang Xingyun recalled a few times and said slowly. TSK. Then you have been planning this for a long time. I still had a good impression of her at that time, and I came to Shanghai University because of her influence. That's it. Now you can be considered to have achieved your goal. You have successfully pursued her, and it's worth it for you to run all the way from South Vietnam to Shanghai. I guess so. Zhang Xingyun scratched his head, thinking of the time he spent with her in the past half month. The corners of his mouth raised slightly. Chapter 465 Rushing to the new foreign province. The next morning, several people got up, washed up, went to the school's breeding house, took the elves with them, and went to the cafeteria to have breakfast. After a while, Nangang Yao and the other 2 also came together, and Jian Wenchen came to the cafeteria not long after. Everyone has space equipment, so there is no need to carry large and small bags, which saves some trouble. Yao, here. Seeing Nangang Yao and the others coming, Zhang Xingyun stood up and waved, shouting. Nangang Yao also nodded, walked over to them, and sat down next to Zhang Xingyun. Come and have an egg, freshly peeled, and this porridge, it tastes very good. Zhang Xingyun said warmly. Okay. Nangang Yao reached out and took it and started eating. Eat more. Yeah. Hey, second brother, I want one too. You can help me peel this egg too. Lan Yuchen exclaimed and handed over an egg. Peel it yourself. Zhang Xingyun refused directly. You're so ruthless. Gao, you have changed. I have always been like this. Seeing this scene, several people laughed, which amused Lan Yuchen. Isn't there another person in your dormitory? Why doesn't she go with you? Zhang Xingyun looked for a few times and asked. She had something to deal with at home, so she didn't come. Long Zirao replied. Oh. Zhang Xingyun said oh, and also started to eat breakfast, and didn't say anything else. Everyone also talked and laughed, and soon finished breakfast. When they came to the outside of the cafeteria, Lan Yuchen and Jian Wenchen each released a car, and invited people to get in. Zirao, take my car. Jian Wenchen invited Long Zirao. No, Meng and I can sit together. Long Zirao said lightly. At this time, Zi Meng also got into Lan Yuchen's car, and she followed. But, Seeing Long Zhao got in the car, Zhang Wenchen was about to say something, but he didn't say it in the end. Wenchen, we'll sit here with you. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao came to Zhang Wenchen's car and said with a smile, "Welcome, welcome, get in the car." Zhang Wenchen also greeted them warmly. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao sat in the back seat, and Page Engine also ran over and sat in the co-pilot. Amid the roar of several car engines, the two cars drove away from the spot and headed for the airport. The 4 people in the car also chatted on the way. Nangang, can I ask Zhao if she has any hobbies? Or what does she like? Zhang Wenchen said this while chatting. Hobbies, I'm not very clear about this. You also know that I haven't been in the dormitory often during this period, and I'm not sure. You should ask Meng Meng, it's safer. Nangang Yao said, after thinking for a few seconds. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Zhang Xingyun suddenly realized that he wanted to pursue Long Zhao. No wonder Zhang Wenchen had been courting him all the way. Maybe this was also the reason why he went to Xinjiang province together this time. I won't hide it from you. I want to pursue Zhao, so I asked you these questions, Nangang. Haha. Zhang Wenchen laughed and said generously, Nangang, if you have any news, you can also tell me. When I catch up with Zhao, I will definitely not let you down in terms of rewards. Then you have to work hard. Zhao is so outstanding and so beautiful. There are many people pursuing her. Nangang Yao also replied with a smile. Yeah, I will. Indeed, Long Zhao is from the Long family. She has a good vision, is beautiful, and has good strength. It's not easy to pursue someone like her. Page Engine also said in the co-pilot seat. I know, so I came to ask Nangang what she likes, so that I can have a goal. Haha. In the driver's seat, Zhang Wenchen nodded and responded. Then you have to take action. A gentleman loves a beautiful lady. To be honest, I want to pursue a girl like Long Zhao, but when I see you like this, I can't do it. Ha ha ha. Page Engine joked. Ha ha ha, that's okay. Let's compete fairly. That's not necessary. A gentleman helps others to achieve their goals. Ha ha ha. Both of them laughed, and the car was full of laughter. There was also constant laughter in Lan Yuchen's car. Lan Yuchen's eloquence is very good, and with Kan Xiuming's agreement, Meng Meng laughed, and even the cold Long Zhao smiled slightly. While talking and laughing, the 8 people arrived at the airport. After completing the formalities, the 8 people came to the terminal hall to wait. Ding dong, the flight to Yangcheng, Nanyu province, will depart in 40 minutes. Passengers, please pay attention to the time and be ready. Ding dong, the flight to the imperial capital will depart in 50 minutes. It's 10 o'clock in the morning now. It will be evening when we arrive in Xinjiang province. Nangang Yao muttered as she looked at the scenery outside. Almost. I heard that the sunset view on the plane is very beautiful. I can just come and experience it today. Zhang Xingyun smiled, and he couldn't help but feel very happy as he looked at the clouds rolling outside the window. Today was also a good day. It was clear and the view was excellent. Sitting in the plane, one could also enjoy the scenery outside the window. There were not many elves flying at the same altitude as the plane, but a few could be seen from a distance. They flew towards the plane and were driven away by the escort personnel on the plane to ensure the normal flight of the plane. There were no dangers along the way. The plane safely shuttled between the clouds and flew quickly towards Xinjiang province. Inside the plane, everyone was still chatting at the beginning, but now they have stopped chatting. Some read magazines, and some meditated. Boom. After flying for a few more hours, there were a few booms outside, and then they dissipated. The rumbling sound also caused an uproar among the passengers in the cabin. Fortunately, the stewardess and other flight attendants came out to explain the reasons and calmed the passengers. After those rumbling sounds, no accidents occurred, and the plane continued to fly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 466 Arrival. Jaoa, wake up. In a daze, Nangang Yao heard someone calling her, and her consciousness slowly returned. What's wrong, Xingyun? Nangangyeo wiped her face, looking sleepy. After eating lunch on the plane, she felt a little sleepy and fell asleep on Zhang Xingyun's shoulder. Look outside, Zhang Xingyun said softly, pointing outside. What a beautiful sunset, Nangangyeo exclaimed, looking at the sunset outside. It's quite beautiful, especially at this height. It has a unique flavor, Zhang Xingyun also replied. The clouds reflected the sunset, and the sky was flushed. The light of the sunset shone through the window glass and shone on people, covering them with a layer of mysterious veil. The two snuggled together, admiring the sunset outside, and both felt a feeling called romance. Lan Yuchen and others behind were also attracted by this magnificent scene, and all looked outside to admire such a magnificent scene. It's strange to say, they have seen the beauty of sunset before, but now they think this grand scene is very beautiful, and they took out their cameras with great interest to take pictures. The sunset is infinitely beautiful, but it's almost dusk, Zhang Xingyun murmured. The setting sun and the lone wild goose fly together, and the autumn water and the sky are the same color. Nangangyeo also smiled. Yeah, it's very suitable for the scene. Zhang Xingyun smiled and replied, stroking her hair, looking outside. When the last ray of afterglow dissipated in the sky and earth, the dark night enveloped this world. Ding-ling-ling ding-ling-ling, the pleasant dingling sound rang out, and several pretty flight attendants pushed the dining cart over and served everyone a dinner. When they saw the dining cart, they also felt a little hungry. Tonight is steak and a glass of red wine. It's a pity that it wasn't delivered just now, but it's not too late now. Looking at the side, Zhang Xingyun smiled. Sir, I'm sorry. There was an accident with the equipment on the plane today, which delayed your meal time. The stewardess apologized. On weekdays, they can provide food at any time, but today the equipment on the plane suddenly had an accident. It's okay. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and said. The stewardess bowed and pushed the dining cart to send other passengers. Cheers, ping, a crisp sound rang out, and the two clinked their glasses and started eating. At about 11 o'clock in the evening, the plane sounded a reminder on time, reminding that it was about to arrive at the station and to get ready. Ha, finally arrived. I've been sitting for a day. Lan Yuchen stretched out his hands and stretched lazily. This time it was relatively smooth. Last time I sat for more than 20 hours. To get to the magic city, Pei-Chen replied. At 9:30 in the evening, the plane landed at the airport in Wumu City, the capital of Xinjiang province. Let's go to the exit, someone is here to pick us up. Pei-Chen called out and led everyone to the exit of the airport. Sure enough, someone was waiting for them, and two extended cars drove up. Young Master, an old man with a grey beard, but a very energetic face came over, stood in front of Pei-Chen, and called out, Young Master. Excuse me, Uncle Shi, for picking me up. Pei-Chen said politely. No, Young Master, are these your friends? Yes, these are all my friends, and they are here to do something in Xinjiang this time. Okay, everyone, this is Uncle Shi, the one who has watched me grow up since I was a child. Pei-Chen introduced them, and Zhang Xingyun and the others also spoke out to say hello. Haha, you are all outstanding people. Come over here, and we'll talk when we get home. Uncle Shi smiled kindly and called everyone to get in the car, which was also equipped with a driver, all wearing a black suit and white gloves. After a while, the two cars stopped at a unique villa. Everyone got out of the car and led by Shibo to the lobby of the villa. Shibo, go down and have a rest. Okay, then do you need to eat? I'll ask them to make it. No, we've eaten on the plane. We'll take care of it when we are hungry. You go and have a rest first. Okay. After Shibo responded, he walked out of the lobby and walked towards his residence. Everyone, please go, just like at home. As for the room, you can choose it yourself. It's up to you. Pei-Chen returned to the lobby and said, okay, then I'm not polite. I want this one. I'll live here for the next few days. Lan Yuchen stood up and pointed to a room on the second floor. Then several people chose their own rooms, and Zhang Xingyun also chose a room. Chen, does your uncle live here? Jian Wenshan asked. No, my father lives somewhere else, and we are the only ones here. Okay. Hearing Pei-Chen's answer, everyone felt a little relieved. If they went to a friend's house and the friend's elders were there, they would feel more or less restrained. Several people chatted in the hall, and Page Engine also asked the servants to deliver some local food, such as chegeo, cantaloupe, raisins and other foods. This is the legendary chegeo that can make the richest man bankrupt. Lan Yuchen picked up a small piece of chegeo and laughed. It's not that exaggerated, it's all nonsense. Page Engine responded, picked up a knife, and cut off a small piece, and handed it to Zimeng and others. Thank you. Well, it tastes good, much better than what I bought in Ontario. After taking a bite, Lan Yuchen commented, and Zhang Xingyun and others also praised it after tasting it. Well, it's good. Page Engine's face was full of smiles. Seeing Zhang Xingyun and others eating happily, he was also very happy. Come and eat the fruits. By the way, you can also release the elves and let them taste the fruits from our trees. Oh. Several people came to an open space and released the elves. The servants in the villa also took out a lot of local fruits and placed them in front of the elves. They only placed fruits, and there were many other elf foods. A team of people stayed there to take care of the elves eating. Everyone returned to the hall and chatted. We are going to the Tama Desert this time. There is a tribe of Bangiris in this desert. Xingyun, we have to find this tribe. It is best to evolve in the tribe. It is also very good for your Shakiras. By the way, you can also let it see its own kind. Page Engine explained. Tama Desert? Chenjin, have you been there? Zhang Xingyun asked. I have been there once, and my Bangiris also evolved there. Page Engine replied, and then said, but I don't know the way anymore. Chapter 467 Tama Desert. When my Bangiris was still Shakiras, when he stepped onto a place, he felt a sense of induction from the unknown, and then followed the sense to find the Bangiris tribe and evolved there. So, my Shakiras can also feel it. Well, in theory, it is possible. Every year, several trainers bring Shakiras to the Tama Desert to evolve. Page Engine nodded in response. Of course, if necessary, I can also let my Bangiris assist you. Let's see. Zhang Xingyun replied. You don't need to find the Bangiris tribe. You can just find an empty space in the desert to evolve. But I still suggest you find the Bangiris tribe. My Bangiris has gained a lot of benefits from them. Since I'm here, I must choose the best. I'm not just here for vacation. Zhang Xingyun chuckled and looked at Shakiras outside. In my opinion, your Shakiras' qualification should not be low, and he will definitely be able to sense it. Yeah. Shakiras, whose qualifications are close to those of dark blue, is naturally not low, and Zhang Xingyun is also very confident in Shakiras. Everyone chatted until more than 2 o'clock in the morning, then packed their clothes, and went to take a shower. After washing and blowing their hair, they all went back to their rooms to rest. Zhang Xingyun and his friends had their own rooms, while Zimeng and the other 2 girls were in one room, saying that it was more lively. After entering the room, Zhang Xingyun looked around. The layout of the room was very simple, but the furniture was not simple. They were all made of some precious raw materials, and the area was not small, estimated to be about 40 square meters. Sitting cross-legged on the soft bed, Zhang Xingyun smelled a fragrance. After smelling it a few times, his body and mind relaxed a little. This light fragrance came from the bed, or to be more precise, from the wood on the bed. A bed worth 1 million is different. Although it doesn't have much effect on me, it's hard to say for others. It's worth selling such an expensive bed. Zhang Xingyun sighed. He knew the price of the bed. It was expensive, and in short supply. If you don't have a way, you can't buy it. This bed is made of precious wood. It is said that it is mixed with some leaves of the legendary tree of life. It also has some strange effects, such as calming the mind and helping sleep. It is also good for some people with abilities. Overall, it is worth the money. Zhang Xingyun sighed a few words, then began to meditate, and entered the state of cultivation. Starlight emanated from his body. There was no talk all night, and time passed quickly. At about 6 o'clock in the morning, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes. This was also a habit. By the way, the time difference. I forgot about the time difference at that time. Looking at the dark clothes, Zhang Xingyun realized this. Then practice for a while. Waiting for the dawn outside, and then get up to wash. Haha, are you used to this time difference? When I first arrived in the Magic City, it took me several days to adapt to the time difference there. In the hall, Page-Engine looked at the few people and laughed. A little bit. When I opened my eyes in the morning, I was still wondering. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile, taking the cup of warm water handed to him. Does this affect my sleep? Not at all. Lan Yuchen also came to the hall and said with his hands spread out. Nangang Yeo and the others also washed up and came to the hall. Okay, let's go eat, and then set off to see the scenery of the Tama Desert. Page-Engine stood up and greeted and took the 7 people to the dining room. The table was also filled with a variety of delicious food. Eat whatever you like, don't be polite. If you want to eat, you can also call the servants. You don't have to be polite here. After speaking, Page-Engine sat down and started eating. Several people sat down one after another and started to eat breakfast. They finished their breakfast quickly, and after a short rest, they came to an open space in the villa and got on the jeep parked there. Let's go. Go. Boom boom, the engine roared, and the 8 people got on the jeep, drove away from the villa, and headed for the Tama Desert. I say we don't ride the elves anymore. It's boring. How about taking a car to go sightseeing? Lan Yuchen, who was driving, asked loudly. Several people had no objection and agreed. Woohoo, there were not many vehicles on the road, and Lan Yuchen stepped on the accelerator several times to speed up the vehicle. This jeep is not bad. Leo-san, take out your axe. Today, I will take you to eat chicken in this desert. Special forces, please be ready. Ha. A few hours later, everyone walked and stopped, and finally came to the entrance of the Tama Desert. It is called an entrance. In fact, most people choose to pass through here, and gradually it is also called an entrance. There are dozens of such entrances on the border of this Tama Desert. Before the elves came, Xinjiang province was already sparsely populated. After the secret realm was integrated into the Blue Star, the area became even larger. After more than 100 years of recuperation, the government also encouraged childbirth and moved some people from other provinces to Xinjiang province, but the current situation of vast land and sparse population has not been alleviated much. We are here. Is this the Tama Desert? Lan Yuchen got off the jeep and looked at the endless golden desert. A gust of wind blew, blowing up clouds of smoke and dust. On the road, there were also more than a dozen teams ready to go, packing up their equipment, with a look of alertness on their faces. Zhang Xingyun and his group appeared, and also attracted the eyes of passers-by, but when they saw the logo on the jeep, they showed awe, and avoided it from a distance. The hyenas wandering here also retracted their greedy eyes, and turned to other places. Come out, Shakiras. Zhang Xingyun threw a Pokeball and released Shakiras. Shakiras roared excitedly a few times as soon as it came out. In this environment, Shakiras felt very comfortable. Shakiras looked in a direction where something seemed to be calling it. Shaki, that's alright. Zhang Xingyun smiled. Shakiras felt it, right? Page-Engine also came over and looked at Shakiras. Well, it said it felt a very friendly wave calling it. Zhang Xingyun replied. That's right, my Bangirus was like this at the beginning, but it had to go deeper into some areas to feel this. It seems that your Shakiras is better than mine. Haha, almost the same. Zhang Xingyun laughed, put Shakiras on the jeep, and followed its instructions to go deep into the desert. Chapter 468 Sandstorm. Shakiras yelled in the jeep, indicating the direction. Drive to the left. Zhang Xingyun said, and drove according to Shakiras's instructions. This jeep is of good quality. It can actually drive in the desert for so long. It's been more than 2 hours. Lan Yuchen, wearing a pair of sunglasses, drove in the golden desert. This is a special version of the jeep. It can still drive in the desert. If it were an ordinary vehicle, it would have been gone long ago. Of course, the sand here is also thicker. Page-Engine, who was also wearing sunglasses, said in the car. Bang bang, there was a noise in front, and several gangster crocodiles crawled out of the sand, including 2 rogue crocodiles. Raw whoosh whoosh whoosh, dense and sharp stones rushed over, but they were all blocked by the elves of everyone. Oh, we've been in the desert for so long, and finally we've encountered some elves. Lan Yuchen said happily. Since they entered the desert, they haven't encountered any attacks. They only saw some rogue crocodiles now. Bang bang bang. 10 seconds later, several rogue crocodiles all lay on the ground. The remaining 2 rogue crocodiles saw that the situation was not good, so they wanted to burrow into the ground to escape. Nidoking and other elves would not let them go. After a few moves, the 2 rogue crocodiles were directly blasted out from the ground and fell to the ground and lost consciousness. The 2 rogue crocodiles both had some elite peak strength, but this level of strength was nothing in front of Nidoking and other elves. What the hell are these rogue crocodiles? That's all they are capable of. Too brave. Lan Yuchen got out of the car and walked in front of the 2 rogue crocodiles. After a few glances, he estimated their strength. Maybe they are extremely hungry. Look at their bellies. Several people got out of the car and surrounded them. Page-Engine said after a few glances. You've hit a wall, but it's not all bad. If there's a chance in the future, maybe I can provide food and accommodation. Lan Yuchen threw out the Pokeball and put the 2 rogue crocodiles into the Pokeball. He ignored the other rogue crocodiles. Get in the car, let's continue. Lan Yuchen shouted and then sat back in the car. After checking a few times, everyone returned to the car. The navigation signal is getting weaker and weaker. You should take out the Pegasus navigation device. Lan Yuchen instructed, driving the car attentively. Shaki, the deeper into the desert, the more active the Shakaras seemed, and even their voices were more excited. Half an hour later, the speed of the 2 cars slowed down, and sand splashed behind the cars. Lan Yuchen stepped on the accelerator several times in the driver's seat. The engine sound was very loud, but the driving speed did not slow down. The sand is too loose. We have to get out of the car. Zhang Xingyun released his mental power and saw the tires half sunk in the sand and knew the reason. After a while, both cars stopped. Get out of the car. The road here is not easy to drive. We have to get out and walk. Lan Yuchen and others opened the car door and got out of the car. It's good to be here. Ordinary vehicles can't drive here. Zhang Xingyun said as he looked at the tires stuck in the sand. After putting the 2 cars into the space, everyone began to walk in the desert. Shakalas led the way in front with the help of Zhang Xingyun. Everyone was not in a hurry and slowly followed Shakalas. The desert doesn't seem to be that dangerous. The view is wide, and it is not easy to be ambushed. It is much safer than places like jungles. Zhang raised his hand and looked into the distance and said to everyone, that's not true. The visibility in the desert is better, but the danger is not small. For example, there are so many dangers hidden in the sand layer under our feet. There is also this bad climate. It is extremely hot during the day and extremely cold at night. You will know it if you remove the energy around your body. Page-Engine replied. He often appeared in the desert, so he naturally knew more than Zhang. There is also the problem of the magnetic field here. It is easy to get lost. You also know the consequences of getting lost in the desert. There are also problems such as water and food. Although there are space equipment, this is also a very critical factor. In addition, there is. While moving forward, Page-Engine also told everyone some key points about walking in the desert. Then what would be the most dangerous thing for Laosin in the desert, if it is not an elf factor? That is, the kind that can also be life-threatening with the help of elves. Zhang asked, expressing his doubts. Extremely large sandstorms. The kind that covers the sky in the Sunday. At this point, Page-Engine's eyes showed fear. Extremely severe sandstorm? Yes, extremely severe sandstorm. Page-Engine's tone was very sure. He had experienced it personally. If his elders had not arrived in time, he would have been buried in this desert. The elves at the king level could only go with the flow and struggle to protect themselves in a natural disaster of that level. Only the elves at the champion level could safely shuttle through it. But you don't have to worry too much. Natural disasters of this scale rarely occur, and we will never encounter this. Page-Engine waved his hand and explained. Shashashahu as he spoke, a strong wind blew from the interior of the desert, blowing up sand and blowing towards everyone. Zhang Xingyun and the others were all ability users, and the sand and dust they blew were blocked by their abilities. After this gust of wind blew, it did not stop, but continued to blow, and the strong wind blew stronger and stronger. Boom 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 whoosh whoosh. No way. Is this the rhythm of the wind? Why is the wind getting stronger and stronger? In the strong wind, Lang Yuchen squinted his eyes and looked at the scenery of rolling sand and dust. It really is windy. Pei Chenjun was a little speechless. He had just finished talking about the sandstorm and the wind started to blow. What should we do, Lao Si? Everyone looked at Pei Chenjun, waiting for his opinion. I'll wait and see. After saying that, he released a flying elf, soaring into the sky, looking into the distance. Fortunately, it's not a super large sandstorm. The problem is not too big. Pei Chenjun breathed a sigh of relief. If it was a super large sandstorm, they would have to retreat first. With their current strength, they couldn't stop it at all. Pei Chenjun touched the Pokeball on his belt. This Pokeball was given to him by Shibo before he left in the morning. There was a peak level Pokémon in it, which could be used in case of unexpected things. Lao Si, do we have to retreat? Lang Yuchen asked, as soon as Pei Chenjun landed. This is an ordinary sandstorm, which is very common in the desert. With our current strength, it is not difficult to get through it. Oh, I thought so. After hearing Pei Chenjun's words, Lang Yuchen and others also felt relieved. Chapter 469 Tomb. Shakarus, you come back first. He took out the Pokeball and put Shakarus into the Pokeball first. Then he jumped onto Dragonite's back in a flash. Go straight through and try to stay together. Pei Chenjun's voice came through telepathy. Okay. Several people responded and flew towards the sandstorm in teams of 2. Whoosh whoosh as they were talking, the sandstorm also swept in, and everyone rushed into the sandstorm. As Pei Chenjun expected, this level of sandstorm could not stop him at all, and the 8 people shuttled through it in an orderly manner. Bang bang bang, the sand and gravel blowing from all directions hit the shield condensed by the 2 people, making crackling sounds. It was not just sand and gravel that was blowing in, but also some broken bones, stones and other things, which were all blocked outside by the shield. Our Dragonite let out a dragon cry, and with one attack, it smashed the large rocks that were coming towards it, and flapped its wings, and continued to fly. Seeing more and more rocks coming towards him, Zhang Xingyun had to use teleportation to avoid many of them. Whoosh whoosh, after flying for half an hour, the Dragonite carried the 2 of them out of the sandstorm. Finally out, Zhang Xingyun said, finally getting through it without any danger. Are you okay? Zhang Xingyun turned around and asked Nangang Yeo. I'm fine. Nangang Yeo held her hair and chuckled. Huh, I'm out too. Lang Yuchen and Zimeng Meng also flew out of the sandstorm, and they also passed through safely. Then Pei Chenjun, Jian Wenchen and others arrived one after another, and landed on the ground. As Pei Chenjun expected, everyone passed through the sandstorm safely. Hey, why is there a forest over there? Lang Yuchen looked up and saw a lush green forest in the distance. It was very conspicuous in the desert and immediately attracted people's attention. This should be the secret realm that descended here. Pei Chenjun guessed that the descending of the secret realm has no rules to follow. Sometimes it descends somewhere else, sometimes it descends here, and the types of secret realms that descend are all different. There are jungles, rivers, rocks, deserts, etc. The forest that everyone saw at this time might be the jungle secret realm that descended in the desert. Raw hissar in the forest, the roars of various elves came, and the tone was very violent. This is a common phenomenon after the secret realm descends. Come out, Shakarus. Zhang Xingyun took out the elf ball and released Shakarus. Shakarus, do you still have that feeling? Zhang Xingyun asked. After listening, Shakarus closed his eyes and felt quietly. Shaki Shaki. Shakarus looked in the direction of the forest and shouted several times. Is that so? Then we can only go through this forest. Zhang Xingyun said helplessly. He originally wanted to bypass this forest and didn't want to face those violent elves. After all, less trouble is worse than more trouble, but now he can only do this. Everyone was a power user and could understand Shakarus' words. Then the 8 people restrained their breath and walked towards the forest. There are sand scale fruit and cherry fruit here. After passing several fruit trees, Zhang Xingyun recognized the fruits hanging on the trees. Maybe this place will evolve into an oasis. Pei Chenjun looked around and guessed. Maybe it will be assimilated by the desert and become part of the Tama Desert. The 8 people shuttled through the forest like ghosts, silently, without disturbing the elves in the forest. Hey, come and see. Zhang Xingyun shouted telepathically. 7 people flashed and came to Zhang Xingyun's side. What is this? The 8 people stopped in front of a stele full of words. The words on the stele were not the words of Blue Star, and Zhang Xingyun could not understand them. Let me take a look. I have studied some words. Zhang volunteered, came to the stele and stood still, and read the words on the stele. HMM. Zhang looked quietly, and translated word by word. How about it, Meng? Do you know what it means? Nangang Yeo asked. This seems to be a tombstone, recording the tomb of a prince. Zhang said truthfully. Prince's tomb? Well, according to the inscription, it is. There are some words that I don't understand, and I don't know what they mean, but it is certain that this is a tombstone, and it is a tombstone for a prince called Henna. Zhang replied, and then looked at the place behind the monument. Where is the mausoleum? If the tombstone is here, the mausoleum should be here too. Let's look for it quickly, maybe we can explore the mausoleum. Xingyun, is your Shakiras thing urgent? Lan Yuchen asked. He was still very interested in exploring the tomb. No hurry, you want to explore the tomb, no problem. You still understand me. If it's not urgent, I'll be relieved. After that, he and Zhang started to search together. Everyone was still very interested in entering the mausoleum to explore. Zhang Xingyun did not stop everyone's plan. They were also traveling, and the matter of Shakiras' evolution was not very urgent. According to Page Engine, it took him 4 days to find the tribe of Bangulus with Shakiras, so there was no rush. Zhang Xingyun had already made a plan. If he could find the tribe of Bangulus, it would be best to evolve there. If he couldn't find it, he would find a suitable place in the desert to evolve. Found it, here. Zhang shouted, and everyone rushed over and saw a cave about 1 person high. Zhang hid beside the tomb, digging something, and as she operated, a small stone tablet was exposed. It's here, there's no doubt about it. Zhang said with certainty after reading it. Then let's go down and take a look. I haven't experienced this kind of adventure yet, Lan Yuchen said, and it can be seen that he is very interested. Gogogo Zhang also shouted on the side, with an excited look on her face, and was also very interested in this act of exploring the tomb. Long Zhao also looked interested, and Jian Wenchen also signaled to go down to explore. Zhang Xingyun and his companions naturally had no objection. After they were ready, Lan Yuchen took the lead, and walked down the cave. Zhang Xingyun and his companions followed behind and went in. Yayo, I remember you have had the experience of exploring a tomb. Yes, didn't I tell you that I brought your ghastly from somewhere? Nangang Yeo said with a smile. The tomb that my brother and I explored was a king's tomb. How strong are the elves in the tomb? King level, no champion level elves were found. It is possible that this king is the king of a small country. Yeah. Chapter 470 in the tomb. Everyone walked in the narrow and damp passage, which was filled with an unknown unpleasant smell, but it had no effect. Everyone was a person with special abilities, and they all used their special abilities to protect themselves and isolate themselves. Do you think a zombie will pop out here? It has a green face and fangs, bloodshot eyes, and claws as sharp as knives, jumping and running straight towards us. While walking, Lan Yuchen's tone was faint, and it seemed very gloomy in this environment. I don't think there are zombies, but the elves in the tomb are not as kind as those so-called zombies. Nangang Yeo saw Zhang, who looked a little scared, and said loudly. She had experienced similar tomb explorations, and knew some of the dangers in the tomb. There must be a large number of ghost elves in the tomb, most of whom are sleeping, or trapped in the tomb, but when someone enters it, the breath of life emitted by people is like a flame in the dark night, so dazzling. And the elves in the tomb, because they have been staying in the tomb, are not very intelligent. When they encounter the breath of living people, they are very crazy and extremely bloodthirsty. The passage twisted and turned, and after walking for half an hour, there was still something. Through the detection of spiritual power, many mechanisms in the passage were also found, but they had lost their function. When people walked by, they did not touch them. Some of them just squeaked a few times, and then stopped moving. Even this mechanism has lost its function. How long has this tomb been? Zhang complained when he heard a few squeaks in the distance and then stopped moving. In his imagination, these mechanisms should all be opened and attack them when they passed by. They walked through here after a period of exciting and thrilling operations. This is how TV dramas play, but now they encountered this, and they couldn't help but sigh. It seems that there is a tomb ahead. We are finally here. Zhang shouted, quickened his pace, and rushed over. Zhang Xingyun and others also hurriedly followed. Hey, why are there so many bones piled up here? After walking out of the passage, the 8 people stopped and looked at the piled bones in front of them. The tomb in front of them was very wide, more than 4 meters high, and the whole space was dark. Zhang Xingyun sent out his mental power to detect, and found that the mechanisms here had failed, and there was no danger. For safety reasons, he threw a few more stones. After the stones rolled over, there was no movement. After seeing that there was no danger, the 8 people continued to walk. This is the bone of Scyther. This is the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus, Iriadus, Centipede King. Through the general outline of the bones, they judged the original body of the bones. There were many bones that had fallen apart, and it was impossible to tell what kind of elves they were. Oh my god, these are human bones, look. Zhang shouted, pointing to several corpses in the corner. From their outlines, they were obviously human bones. This one seems to be buried alive. Zhang Xingyun frowned slightly. From the mental power detection, he found that under several corpses, there were corpses buried one after another. The clothes on the upper corpses seemed to be armor. What should have happened in them? And this corpse pit is not just one. There are more than 20 in a row, which is very scary. There were also a few corpses on the pit, wearing armor-like clothing. It seems that the elves are buried over there. Longzerao pointed to the opposite side and said, how cruel, burying so many elves. They should also be buried with the dead. Zhang looked over and scanned the area with her supernatural power, saying, unlike the corpse pits for burying humans, the pits for burying elves are very wide. It doesn't make sense. How could these elves die here? Isn't the passage there? Lan Yuchen said with some doubt. The corpses in the pit are easy to explain, but the corpses on the pit are a bit strange. Who cares? Have you noticed that we have been here for so long and have not encountered any attacks from elves? This is a bit abnormal. Zhang said. When he said this, everyone was also stunned. It seemed to be true. The 8 people had been here for so long and had not encountered any attacks from elves. This was really a bit abnormal. It may be because the secret realm has just arrived. You see, we can all come in, so the elves outside can naturally come in, and we haven't encountered any elves that broke in along the way. This tomb may be half a tomb. Engine analyzed. From these dead people and elves, it can be judged that this tomb should be closed. The passage appeared on the ground may have moved because of the arrival of the secret realm. It's possible. Zhang Xingyun said, and observed around, and saw something carved on the walls everywhere. Look at the wall, it seems to be carved. Zhang Xingyun pointed to the wall and said. Everyone turned their heads to look at what he said. Zhang Xingyun took out the lighting tools and illuminated the space. There were many items scattered on the ground, including cups, bowls, and utensils. The utensils were carved with patterns and looked very simple. There were also many stone tables in the distance, and something was placed on the stone tables. The carvings on the 4 walls are still clearly visible, depicting stories of people hunting. Overall, nothing can be seen. The floor is paved with blue bricks, but it has been damaged in many places, and weeds have grown. It turns out that there are more than 10 tombs of this scale. How many people and elves must be buried here? After reading the information on these murals, Zhang was surprised. As a modern person, she was really surprised. Just in this tomb, a rough estimate shows that there are almost 1,000 people buried here. 10 of them would be 10,000 people. This tomb is just for a prince, which is unimaginable. Do you want these artifacts? If you take them outside, you should be able to exchange them for money. If not, you can also keep them as a souvenir. Zhang Xingyun pointed to the artifacts on the ground and the stone table in the distance and smiled. Of course I want them. I'll put them away first and divide them equally after we go out. Lan Yuchen said, putting all these simple artifacts into the space equipment. Let's go. There's nothing to see here. Look, there's another passage there. After collecting most of the artifacts here, Lang Yuchen pointed to a cave entrance in the distance and said, "It's called a cave entrance, but it looks more like a door. There are a few words on the door, and bricks are laid underneath." Everyone walked over, past the door, and walked inside. As everyone set out on the road, many pairs of scholard eyes lit up in the tomb, as if they had sensed something, and they all looked at everyone. Chapter 471 The Spirit in the Stone Gate. Why do I feel so cold? Zhang Xingyun said in the crowd. He had this feeling, since he walked into this passage. You know what? I have the same feeling. Me too. Zimeng and others said one after another. Why is there light ahead? Everyone looked up and really saw the light, which was very soft. Go over and take a look. The 8 people quickened their pace, walked over, passed through the blue brick passage, and stopped. In front of everyone was a passage about 30 meters long paved with white jade. The passage was also inlaid with night pearls, with a total of 6, almost one every 5 meters, emitting a soft light, illuminating the passage. Reflected on the white jade, a warm and shining scene. At the end of the passage, there was a stone door, which was closed at this time. No one knew what was inside, but just by looking at the passage paved with white jade in front of them, they could tell that it must be extraordinary. This tomb owner is too extravagant. Everyone was shocked by the scene in front of them. This was too extravagant. The aisle was paved with white jade. Let's get rich. Lang Yuchen rubbed his hands and looked at the scene in front of him with fiery eyes. Let's go. Take these 6 night shining pearls first, and then go in and take a look. After observing it once, Lang Yuchen found that there was no danger and urged. He teleported to the bottom of a night shining pearl, controlled his supernatural power, took the night shining pearl, and floated it in his hand. He teleported again, and came to the bottom of the second night shining pearl. Zhang Xingyun also teleported, and got a night shining pearl. Haha, this is not dangerous. The mechanism is useless to us. We haven't seen any elves. There is no challenge at all. Lang Yuchen laughed, with a night shining pearl emitting soft light floating in his hand. Forget about the white jade. Let's go in and take a look at what's inside. Zhang Xingyun suggested, raising his foot forward and coming to the stone door. There was an unknown blood-colored inscription painted on the stone door, and no one knew what it meant. Zimeng read it several times, but still had no idea. Zhang Xingyun tried it once, and found that his superpowers could not penetrate the stone door at all. He asked everyone, and they all had the same idea. Come out, Nidoking, and push this door open. They definitely couldn't push it open, so they could only ask the elves to help. Seeing this, Nangang Yeo and the others also released the elves, and pushed the stone door together. Swish, with the help of the elves, the stone door moved a few times, shaking off a lot of smoke and dust from it, but it still couldn't be pushed open. Why don't we blow this up? It can't be pushed open. Zhang Xingyun suggested. With the help of the elves, the stone door was only slightly shaken, and it would be difficult to push it open. Wait and see. Don't be in a hurry. Zhang Xingyun said, and released his mental power to detect the surroundings of the stone door. This stone door is also very special. It can actually isolate their superpowers. Not only this stone door, but also the sand around the stone door can isolate their superpowers. Buzz buzz buzz. Under the push of Nidoking and other elves, the stone door slowly moved and retreated. When it opened to a width of 1 meter, Zhang Xingyun stopped them. 1 meter was enough for them to pass through, and there was no need to make it wider. Let's go in and take a look. Okay, I want to see what's going on inside. Zhang Xingyun and his companions crossed the stone door one after another and walked in. After entering, the space was pitch black, and you couldn't see your hand in front of you. Why do I feel that my superpowers are suppressed? Do you feel it? Zhang Xingyun asked, his voice a little uncomfortable. Yeah, me too. Zhang Xingyun replied. Standing here and using superpowers felt very heavy, and the external mental power was also suppressed. For example, he could only project within 3 meters, and detect the situation within 3 meters. If he was outside, he could detect 300 meters. He hissed woo. Suddenly, dense red light lit up in front of everyone's eyes, accompanied by a hissing sound. This is the eye. The blood red eyes were filled with bloodlust and madness. staring at everyone. His a strong suction spread out, sucking them in, and the life energy of several people seemed to be coming out of their bodies and being sucked away by the suction. No. These are the elves in the tomb. They are now sucking the life energy from us. Zhang Xingyun shouted, and at the first time, he saw the original bodies of these red eyes from the system. All of them were ghost-type elves. Wake up! Zhang Xingyun shouted loudly, waking everyone up. In these few seconds, the few people behind him were stunned and couldn't react for a while. After his shouting, everyone reacted and quickly released the elves to fight. A gust of wind blew, and a pitch-black telekinetic clay doll appeared in front of Zhang Xingyun and sucked him hard. The ghost elves behind also rushed over, looking at everyone greedily with scholar eyes, and ghosts were everywhere. Everyone be careful. Mega Mantis and Nidoking are super evolving. Zhang Xingyun yelled, and immediately started super evolving. Nido Hassan the brilliant evolutionary light flashed. Mega Mantis and Bond Nidoking evolved, and his figure flashed and appeared in front of the psychic doll, punching it with both fists. Under the attack of the two Pokémon, the psychic doll was directly knocked away, and the suction force immediately decreased a lot, and the life energy in the body also returned to stability. The other Pokémons flashed red and rushed over. Blastoise and the others all flashed out of the Pokéballs to protect him. The Pokémons of Nangan and others also jumped out of the Pokéballs and went up to meet him. Nidoking stomped on the ground, shaking all the Pokémon that approached it away, and then shot out a powerful destructive death light, and several weak Pokémon were killed on the spot under this light. The telekinetic clay doll that was being entangled by the giant mantis shouted loudly, shaking the giant mantis away, and then stepped on the ground, and a force of the earth attacked. Nidoking arrived and responded with a force of the earth. The two forces of the earth collided halfway, and with a bang, a wave of air was set off, and the surrounding elves were blown away, clearing the place. Roar rumble after a roar, the ground shook, and a clay giant walked out of the darkness. Every time it walked, the ground shook. Nidoking looked at the approaching clay giant with a serious expression, ready for battle. Judging from the energy fluctuations on its body, this clay giant was surprisingly a mid-level celestial king elf. Chapter 472, Elves in the Dark. Boom! Nidoking and the clay giant collided their fists and each took a few steps back. The soil under Nidoking's feet squirmed a few times, and then dragged Nidoking up into the sky, and the whole body pressed towards the clay giant. A heavy double kick directly hit the clay giant, kicking it to stagger, and with a bang, it crashed into the earth wall behind it. Woo woo woo! At the same time, several pairs of scholard eyes lit up in the darkness, staring at everyone, emitting several powerful auras, which were undoubtedly the elves of the king level. Let's retreat, there are still elves inside. Zhang Xingyun shouted. There was no idea how many elves were hiding in the darkness inside. The superpowers were also suppressed, and it was impossible to explore the situation inside. It was very dangerous. Let's go, get out quickly. At least our superpowers will not be restricted. Okay. Nidoking, Giant Claw Mantis, prepare to retreat. Nido Hassan both elves responded and knew the situation. 8 people gathered together, and the elves stood in front to block the elves rushing over. The defense line had not been broken. Most of the elves that rushed over were elite level 1, and a few were at the level of Seekings. There were no ordinary level 1 elves. The crowd fought and retreated at the same time and did not pay attention to the white jade passage passing by. Several deep roars came from the tomb. They were unwilling to give up chasing these intruders and wanted to devour their life energy. They chased them out. Looking at the dark mass behind him, Lang Yuchen felt his scalp tingling. If he was alone, he would definitely be swallowed by these elves, and not even his bones could be found. Let's go outside first. Zhang Xingyun came to Lang Yuchen's side, pressed him with one hand, and his figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Nidoking and other elves have been collected in the elf ball. Compared with the calmness when they came in, the escape of the crowd seemed a little embarrassed. Fortunately, their abilities were not restricted outside, and they could use teleportation to travel. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Compared to their successful escape, the elves that broke into the tomb were miserable. They encountered the weak ghosts chasing them from behind, and were swallowed up in a breath. They only had time to let out a shrill wail, and not even their fur was left. Finally out Quickly release the elves to fight. Those elves will not let us go. Zhang Xingyun said hurriedly, and everyone set up their formations and prepared to fight the elves chasing them from behind. Several elves emerged from the ground, looking at everyone with a pair of bloodshot eyes. This is a monster, Meng said in surprise. The elves in front of her really looked like monsters. The elves in front of her looked extremely strange, and their bodies seemed to be sewn together, with 3 heads. 2 of them looked like Jenga, and one had the head of a ghost doll. Its body was also very strange, like several elves mixed together, extremely weird. However, they were all strong, and possessed the strength of a qua-seeking. Other elves also arrived one after another, but did not attack immediately. Instead, they stared at everyone with their scarlet blood eyes, as if waiting for something. Strike first to gain the upper hand. Zhang Xingyun shouted, leaving Shakaris and a few weak elves by his side, and asked the other elves to come forward. Nangang Yeo and others were not polite either, and sent out elves to attack. Boom boom boom. Under the bombardment of the elves that had just appeared were directly blown away, and their lives and deaths were unknown. Roar, a loud roar came from inside, and the ground also shook and cracked. Boom, mud and grass flew, and a clay giant jumped out of the ground and stood on the ground. Then the other elves in the tomb also jumped out of the ground. Whoosh whoosh, a very dark wave rushed straight towards everyone. A Pokeball on Page Engine's belt seemed to sense something, and the elves inside appeared directly from the Pokeball. It was a 3-meter tall Bangerous, with an extremely strong aura, a peak level Pokemon. Bangerous stomped his foot on the ground, and a ball of dirt spurted out from the ground, and he grabbed it with a shadow claw. With a sizzle, a figure retreated. It was a Night Dark Demon, and also a king level elf. Bangerous stood in front of everyone, and roared at the elves. His fierce momentum immediately frightened the attacking elves. Roar, another roar came, and a huge Jenga emerged from the ground. It was 5 meters tall, and looked at Bangerous jokingly. Bangerous also roared, and his momentum did not decrease. How did you cultivate such a big Jenga? The appearance of Jenga also shocked everyone. This power is so special and so simple. Could it be that kind of power? Zhang Xingyun looked at the Jenga in front of him. His heart moved slightly, and he guessed. Could it be the power of the ancient times? Or is there a connection? Jenga's size also reminded him of the power of the ancient times. In the anime, when Ziozi and his group were traveling, they encountered a battle between a giant Jenga and a giant Alakazam. It is said that it is the power of the ancient times, and the giant Dragonite seems to be related to the power of the ancient times. While Zhang Xingyun was thinking, several more elves arrived. Now there are 9 elves of the king level on the opposite side, 2 clay giants, 2 telekinetic clay dolls, a dark night demon, a huge Jenga, and the dream demon and the soul-catching eyes that arrived later. Among them, the dream demon and the dark night demon are elves of the late king level, and the 2 clay giants have the strength of the middle king level. The last one is a stitched monster, about 3 meters tall, with 4 heads, extremely majestic and terrifying, and I don't know how it was produced, but its strength is also at the level of the middle king level. These few are also the existences that make Zhang Xingyun feel daunted in the dark. Chumangang Yao's guardian elf Kixie Bluebird also came out of the elf ball and appeared on the scene. Double Axe War Dragon. A double axe war dragon with scars all over its body and fierce eyes appeared on the scene. It was the elf guarding Longzerao, and it also had the strength of the peak of the king. As expected of the children of aristocratic families, they are protected by such powerful elves. Seeing the elves that appeared, Zhang Xingyun said secretly, bang bang bang. Several elves fought, and several people retreated to the back, avoiding the battle scene. The king level was involved, but the quasi-kings were not, and they came towards the crowd. Facing this level of elves, Lang Yuchen and others were not afraid at all, and faced them directly. In the crowd, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao, who had the strength of the king, stood in the front and each stopped 2 king level elves. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 473, Lightning 5 Whips. Nidoking faced the clay giant as usual, and the two powerful elves started a contest again. The clay giant suddenly stopped, and its body shape changed. It ejected a burst of gas from its body, rose from the sky, and then turned in the sky, and fell towards Nidoking. This is also its ability. The clay giant has the ability to transform. It can put its legs into its body, making its entire waist a jet device, flying in the air at the speed of sound. Boom! With a violent rumble, half of Nidoking's body was embedded in the ground, and the clay giant was also repelled by Nidoking. Nidoking exerted a little force, and jumped out of the soil, standing aside with a bang. Aha! Seeing Nidoking jump out, the clay giant changed its body shape, and attacked again with the same trick. This time Nidoking was already prepared, and lifted up the soil below, and met the clay giant from the bottom up. Puff! Then they both fell to the ground and stalemated together. Hey boo! On the other side, the opponent that the electric shock monster encountered was two stitched monsters. The electric shock monster swung the thunder whip in one hand with great vigor, hitting the opponent repeatedly, and each time it hit, smoke came out of its body. The two stitched monsters attacked again. The intelligence of this kind of monster is lower than that of the elves, but the aura emanating from their bodies is more evil and violent, and their strength is also stronger. Papa! The electric shock monster swung 5 times in a row, hitting the two stitched monsters in full, making them scream in anger. One of the heads that looked like human bones sprayed out several ghost fires and hit the electric shock monster. Or Thunder Beast head on the other stitched monster sprayed out a lightning and struck it. Several attacks were intercepted by the electric shock monster. Even the stitched monster changed its fighting style. The electric shock monster jumped with the force and avoided these attacks. It continued to swing the thunder whip while suspended in the air. Raising his hand, several more lightning bolts rose from the ground. Under the control of the electric shock monster, the two stitched monsters were trapped in them and struck them one after another. Hey boo! In midair, the electric shock monster controlled lightning bolts to strike down one after another. If it were the previous electric shock monster, it would definitely rush down and fight with its opponent in close combat, but after so many battles, it has also grown up, and its fighting style has changed. Bang! The two stitched monsters were beaten to a state of temper, and their attacks were all dodged by the electric shock monsters. They wanted to get close but couldn't, and were hit again while roaring. Boom! A sound of air breaking sounded, and another stitched monster attacked. This stitched monster has a bird's head and bone wings on its body, and it is extremely fast. With a bang, the electric shock monster was knocked to the ground, and the two stitched monsters on the ground saw this and rushed forward. The electric shock monster raised his hand to block one, and then swung his tail to entangle the other one, turned around, and pressed the two together. There was violent lightning in front of the two fists, and they hit it one by one. As soon as it opened its mouth, the fist of the electric shock monster arrived, and hit its mouth again. The electric shock monster's attack was very methodical. Most of the attacks were on the head and the sutures. Skills such as lightning fist, fire fist, and iron tail were all used to hit its body. Among them, lightning fist seemed to be more effective against this kind of monster. Every time it hit, its screams were particularly tragic. The flying stitched monster in the sky wanted to rush down to attack the electric shock monster, but was blocked by the Pidgeot beside it. A brave bat possessed it and fell straight to the ground, and also affected several elves who were originally standing there. Pidgeot used its claws and wings to beat several elves in the pit on the ground. An extremely piercing scream sounded, coming from the stitched monster that the electric shock monster held down. One of its heads was directly shattered and turned into powder under the bombardment of the electric shock monster. Under the influence of this sound, the stitched monsters on the field fought more fiercely, and the two monsters held down by the electric monster struggled harder. The electric monster used more force again to hold down the two stitched monsters. The electric monster in the spirit state still had the upper hand and suppressed the two. The evasion just now was not due to its melee ability. On the contrary, the melee ability of the electric monster was extremely strong. Facing two stitched monsters in the middle stage of the Quasi King, it was still able to suppress them. Crack! The electric monster swung out the thunder whip again, hitting it and splashing white smoke again. Each swing was stronger than the last, reaching the strongest on the fifth swing, and it turned into nothingness after the strike. This is a new move that the electric monster trained under the guidance of Zhang Xingyun, named Lightning 5 Whips. However, this name is temporary. With the current strength of the electric shock monster, 5 times is just enough. When the electric shock monster's strength is improved in the future, it can use 6 or 7 whips, and then it will be lightning 6 whips. Crackling after a while of swinging, the breath of the two-stitched monsters became even weaker. Boom boom boom, several lightning bolts fell from the sky, which were the thunder of the electric shock monster. Under its control, all of them struck its body. Hey boo, the electric shock monster raised his hand and took a picture. The electromagnetic field that had been laid out originally raised a few lightning bolts, and under the traction of the electric shock monster, it turned into a cover, covering all 3. Boom boom, several more lightning bolts fell. Boom, there was a violent explosion at the location of the electric shock monster, and powder flew everywhere, and airwaves rolled. The smoke and dust dissipated, and the electric shock monster stood on the ground, and there were still several broken bodies scattered on the ground. The originally sturdy stitched monsters were all turned into several pieces of smoke-emitting corpses under the thunder, and became real dead things without any breath. In the distance, Banguilus firmly suppressed the large Jenga. 50 meters around Banguilus, the flying gravel turned into a solid cage, covering the giant Jenga and it. The gravel flashed with a yellowish luster, making it impossible for the ghostly Jenga to escape, and trapped in it, the 3-meter-tall Banguilus seemed a little petite in front of the 5-meter-tall large Jenga, but Banguilus's performance was not petite. Banguilus was also a veteran, and had received a very comprehensive training. Jenga's hypnosis, strange light and other moves had no harm to Banguilus, which restricted Jenga everywhere. The evil attributed Banguilus left huge damage on Jenga every time he attacked. Banguilus raised his hand and slapped the giant shadow ball that was attacking. Boom, a destructive death beam shot out, dispersing Jenga's counter-attacks one after another, and the aftermath hit Jenga. Then, one evil wave after another, under the control of Banglass, attacked Jenga. Chapter 474, Battle on the Scene. Damn it, help. Zhang Xingyun, who was commanding the elves in the front, heard the voice from behind, turned around, and saw that Lan Yuchen and Qin Zhiming were in a bad situation. There were quite a few elves rushing out of the tomb, about 200 or so. Among them, there were 9 king level elves, more than 70 quasi-king level elves, and the rest were elite level. There were too many elves, and there were also several king level elves fighting in the middle, so everyone was also scattered. 2 or 3 people formed a team to prepare for the enemy, and Lan Yuchen and Qin Zhiming were the 2 who were rushed together. At this time, they were trapped by several pumpkin villains and wind balls. These 5 were all quasi-king level elves, and one of the pumpkin villains was in the late quasi-king stage. The 2 could not resist at all. Originally, Lan Yuchen's ace Lucario had just advanced to the quasi-king not long ago, and with super evolution and other means, he could still compete with this pumpkin monster, but there was more than one elf attacking. There were as many as 7 quasi-king level elves alone, and there were also elite level elves. Qin Zhiming was the same. His trump card Pokémon Lakazam had also advanced to the quasi-king level not long ago. It was a bit difficult for him to fight against these quasi-king level Pokémon. He could not resist against 7 of them at all, so he asked for help. Electric shock monster, prepare to teleport. Zhang Xingyun gave a telepathic command. Hey boo-ha, the electric shock monster disappeared from the spot, and the next moment, it appeared beside Qin Zhiming and the others. Then, Zhang Xingyun transferred Super Charizard X over. After being possessed by spirits, the strength of the electric shock monster was at the peak of the middle stage of the quasi-king, and its combat power could compete with the late stage. With the addition of Charizard X, who was in the late stage of the quasi-king, the safety of the 2 was naturally not a problem. He could also concentrate on helping the giant claw mantis fight against the telekinetic clay doll. With a bang, the giant claw mantis came out of the rock blockade, turned into a residual image, and rushed to another place. Boom, the telekinetic clay doll disappeared in an instant, and reappeared next to the giant mantis. Then it made a high-speed turn, and smashed into the giant mantis. Boom, at the critical moment, the giant mantis still avoided the attack of the telekinetic clay doll with its extremely fast speed. Swoosh, from the smoke and dust of the telekinetic clay doll, 2 phantom rays shot out, and hit the giant mantis. Hassan, more than 30 giant mantis figures appeared on the field, surrounding the telekinetic clay doll in the pit. Bang! The attack of the telekinetic clay doll only dispersed a few clones, and the real body of the giant mantis was behind the telekinetic clay doll, and chopped down with an alloy claw. Boom! The telekinetic clay doll was about to teleport away, but the surrounding space suddenly solidified, blocking it for a second. In this second, the giant mantis's attack arrived. Just after hitting it, the telekinetic clay doll also teleported away from its original position, and appeared on the other side the next second, with a scar on its back left by the giant mantis. Dang! The telekinetic clay doll looked at Zhang Xingyun. The obstruction he encountered when teleporting just now must have been caused by the human in front of him. He faced him with both hands, and the small holes on his hands flashed with starlight, accumulating power. The giant mantis blocked in front of him, with its claws closed. Whoosh! Two destructive death lights shot out from both sides, and collided in mid-air. Buzz! When they collided, there was a loud sound of air roaring, which was very unpleasant. At the contact point of the two destructive death lights, the soil below was also annihilated into nothingness under this attack. Bangerous, who was fighting against the large Jenga, roared loudly. It was seen that it was pressing the Jenga hammer, and every move hit the Jenga, but the Jenga had no power to fight back, and only protected itself. During the battle, the two of them were already 1 kilometer away from the crowd without realizing it. There was also flying sand around them, and there was also a thick layer on the ground. Whenever Jenga wanted to sneak underground, Bangerous would pull him over. His Jenga took the opportunity to pull away, floated up and quickly flew in one direction. If he couldn't escape from underground, he would escape from other places. He couldn't beat Bangerous, and if he continued to fight, his life would be in danger. Bangerous let out a roar, and the flying sand around him suddenly condensed and turned into a dragon head, rushing straight forward and pressing Jenga, who wanted to escape, to the ground. Bangerous opened his bows left and right and continued to hit Jenga. His Jenga broke free again, but was then controlled again, and was greeted with another burst of hammering. It was unlucky for him to meet Bangerous. In the sandstorm area, he was restricted everywhere, and it was very difficult to escape. The sand around him seemed to have a special energy that prevented him from escaping. It can tear apart and escape, but it will take some time. However, Bangerous will not give it a chance. In the time it wants to escape, it will catch it and beat it up. Jenga will naturally fight back and struggle to its death, but it is still suppressed by Bangerous. Bangerous, who is at the peak of the king, has already experienced his abilities to a very high level. The sandstorm that blocked Jenga in the sandstorm is also one of its uses. As a Pokémon at the peak of the king, it is no match for Bangerous. It can't beat it, and it can't escape. Even if it tries its best, it is still pressed to the ground and beaten by Bangerous. Bang! Every time Bangerous attacks, Jenga screams in pain, and strands of black energy overflow from its body and turn into nothingness outside the body. As Bangerous attacks, Jenga's size also becomes a little smaller, which is not obvious on the surface. When Bangerous beats the large Jenga, the electric shock monster also defeats several Pokémon on the opposite side, and the thunder whip in his hand just collapses. This electric beast is too strong. The key is that lightning can be used like this. Lan Yuchen and the others saw the performance of the electric beast and were amazed by its fighting style. Just now, they saw the electric beast using the thunder whip to block the attacks of several elves of the Pumpkinville lane, and it was able to attack after defending. Hey boo. After dealing with the elves that surrounded and beat Lan Yuchen and the others, the electric beast looked at the battlefield. The current situation has stabilized. Long Zero, Zhang Xingyun and others each faced several elves. Although they did not defeat many, their situation was not as dangerous as that of Lan Yuchen and the others. Here, Zhang Xingyun's attention was all on Nidoking and Giant Claw Mantis, and he did not give the electric beast new combat instructions for a while. Hey boo, the electric beast shouted a few times, and Zhang Xingyun turned his head. No need, this is not something you can intervene in now, just fight freely. Telepathically, Zhang Xingyun let the electric shock beast play freely, and refused its help. The electric shock beast could not intervene in the battle of the king level. If it intervened forcefully, the effect would be negative. Chapter 475, Victory and Entering the Tomb. Nidoking's fight became more intense, and he was now entangled with the clay doll giant. The earth and rocks around them were shattered, and the field was full of potholes. Nido, the spikes on his arms glowed purple, and then turned into something like leaf blades, but the color on Nidoking's arms was purple. Nidoking used both hands to chop the clay doll giant, leaving deep scratches on its body every time he chopped it. The clay doll giant would also fight back, and its huge fists would fall on Nidoking's body, plus there were other attacks. At this time, Nidoking was also in a state of embarrassment. The rock armor condensed on his body was broken into pieces, and there were scars on his feet and left abdomen, and blood was oozing out. Nidoking, who was at the early stage of the heaven leaking, faced the clay doll giant at the middle stage of the heaven leaking head on. The fact that he could fight like this also showed how powerful Nidoking was. Nidoking jumped up from the ground and used 2 consecutive kicks, kicking the clay doll giant continuously. With a bang, the clay giant was half buried in the ground. Nidoking took advantage of the victory and chased after it. Its tail shone like steel, and it swung at the clay giant with great force. Roar! The clay giant roared and took Nidoking's tail. It shook and soared into the sky. Nidoking stumbled and rushed into the sky with its tail dragged. Nidoking shook and got close to the clay giant. The two wrestled in the sky again. With a bang, the two fell to the ground together. The ground squirmed a few times and wrapped them up. There was a banging sound from inside. The situation inside must be very intense. Bang Jenga, who was fighting against Bangulus, seemed to have shrunk a circle from a body of more than 5 meters tall to about 2 meters now. Under Bangulus' attack, it turned from a 5 meter tall giant into a dwarf of more than 2 meters tall. The process was extremely painful for Jenga. At this time, Jenga's consciousness gradually became blurred, and he felt that the ancient energy in his body also left his body, and his breath became weak. Bang bang. During the fight, Bangulus found that Jenga had stopped moving, so he threw it aside, looked at the several elves fighting with the double axe war dragon, and rushed over. Bangulus' victory also destroyed the already fragile balance. Together with the double axe war dragon, he was suppressing the opponent. Boom! The ground shook, and a big pit appeared where Nidoking and Clay Giant were. Both elves lay in it, and did not get up again. Nidoking's consciousness had not yet left, and Zhang Xingyun, who was standing beside him, also sensed Nidoking's situation and teleported to his side. Just now, several elves attacked him, leaving him no time to assist Nidoking. Well done, Nidoking, you successfully defeated an opponent in the middle stage of the heaven leaking. After saying that, he simply treated Nidoking. Kamiya Blastoise and Charizard and several other Pokémon also broke away and rushed to Zhang Xingyun's side, dealing with several attacking Pokémon. Did you win? Zhang Xingyun looked around and found that in addition to the battle on the side of the king, the battle on the side of the Quasi-King was almost coming to an end. In the battle of the king level on the field, Bangulus faced the strongest large Jenga. Tanabata Bluebird faced the Night Dark Demon. Nangang Yeo and Hergardev were faced 1, and he faced 2 again. Among the remaining 4 king Pokémon, the one fighting was the Double Axe War Dragon. Of course, the battle situation was not static, except for the Jenga that Bangulus faced, and the Clay Doll Giant that Nidoking fought, which was far away, and did not change much. The other Pokémon fought flexibly. Sometimes, the target of the Battle of the Giant Claw Mantis was not the telekinetic Clay Doll, but the Dream Demon that Nangang Yeo fought. There were also several rounds when it was surrounded and beaten by several Pokémon. Banhu the Sandstorm stopped, revealing the battle inside. The Double Axe War Dragon and Bangulus were both standing, and 3 elves were lying on the ground. Seeing that the situation was not good, several elves in the distance escaped. Except for the telekinetic Clay Doll that the giant claw mantis was fighting, the others all escaped. Under the beating of the elves, the telekinetic Clay Doll soon fell to the ground and lost consciousness. 3 of the 9 king elves escaped, leaving 6 behind. Then everyone and the elves began to clean up the elves on the field. Except for a small number of elves that escaped, the others were knocked to the ground. Ziz either defeated several stitched monster elves were different from other elves. Their entire bodies were broken apart, and they calmed down. Everyone took out their elf balls and collected all these elves. This kind of elf has great research value, and submitting them will bring a large amount of money and merit points. People don't care much about money, but merit points. Things like elf coins may still be useful before becoming a heavenly king, but they are not very useful after becoming a heavenly king, because the resources used by the heavenly king level cannot be purchased with elf coins. Of course, it is not always the case. Occasionally, there are accidents. Elf coins can still be exchanged for resources at the heavenly king level under certain circumstances. When one's strength reaches a certain level, money is really just a number. After cleaning up the battlefield, everyone rested on the spot. The sound of the battle also attracted the elves in the forest, but under the shock of Bangalus, they only hovered far away and dared not move forward. After everyone's elves recovered their ability to move, they went down from the cave again and walked underground. Now that the elves that ran out of the tomb have been dealt with, they can also go to see the true face of this tomb. It was also affected by the elves that rushed out, that the passage collapsed in many places, but with the help of the elites, the collapsed passage was restored. The bones in the original burial pit also became fragmented and scattered all over the ground. Even after death, they were not at peace. Everyone took action to collect the bones and buried them underground again. What a pity, a good white jade road has become like this. When passing by the original road paved with white jade, Lang Yuchen looked at the broken white jade road with heartache. After cleaning up a few things, they came to the special stone gate. After crossing this stone gate, everyone felt that their superpowers were suppressed again. Taking out the lighting tools and illuminating the space, they saw rows and rows of specially made small coffins embedded in the wall. Judging from the signs on them, they should be the residences of those elves, or they could be the tomb version of the elf ball. This space is very large, and Zhang Xingyun and others took out the lighting tools again. This is gold, silver and jewelry. Under the reflection of the lighting tools, several piles of gold and silver on the ground also came into everyone's sight. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.